Thank you, thank you, thank you. You can calm down. Oh, goodness. My dudes. My dudes. It has been... It's been a while. MMO Addicted, thanks so much for continuing your sub, my dude. Appreciate it. Yeah, everything's okay here. Lone Sparrow, thanks so much for keeping your sub going, my dude. What would be my perfect dwarf update? Okay, so real quick, I guess, before we get into it. If I were to get my perfect dwarf update, I need two dwarf DLCs. I need a runic-based DLC, and I need an engineer-based DLC. For the runic-based DLC, I would do Thoric Ironbrows, the Legendary Lord, with, and he would come with a rework for the Anvils of Doom, to make them way better, and the runic system in general, to make them way more better and closer to their tabletop rendition. I would also want them to go ahead and, give us, with that DLC, I'd want Demon Slayers for new Lord type, and I would want either Dragon Slayers or Priestesses of Valea as a new hero type, which I think Priestess of Valea would be super duper cool because you could get support magic through her, or support runic magic through her, while also getting us a female dwarf generic model, which would be great. Then I would want, for the units, I'd want the Shard Dragon, which is a big old monster that the dwarfs have. I'd also want Rune Golems as a monstrous infantry type unit. And then I would want Doom Seekers as a dwarf slayer unit that specializes against like mass groups of infantry. Because they have like big whip chains with like bladed axes that are on these giant long chains. Then I would want... I guess that would be that DLC. And then for the Engineer DLC, I would want Grim Burlickson as the Legendary Lord, with Joseph Bugman as the Legendary Hero. Then I would want him to get... I would want him to have a Guild Master, Engineer Guild Master for a new generic Lord type, who's all about shooting, replenishing ammo, and can have a Gyrocopter Gyro Bomber mount. I'd also want the Thunder Barge as the big new monster, which it's not a monster, but it's a giant flying machine with guns and stuff on it. I'd also want that DLC to come with the Goblin Hewer, which is a war machine that throws axes like nobody's business. And some kind of, maybe for some new infantry, I would like maybe miners with steam drills. That could maybe be really cool. Or you could do, like, Dwarf Rangers with Grudge Bearers, or, Grudge Bearers, what are they called? Grudge Rakers, which are, like, hardcore rifles / shotgun things. Alternatively, you could do, Iron Breakers with Drake Fire Pistols, could be kind of cool. There's a lot of different engineering stuff you could do. But yeah, that's what I would want. That'd be a lot. There's a lot I would want. Hey, MMO Addicted, thanks so much for gifting 10 subs. Alright! Dudes, it's been a while. Man, guys, it has been hell down here. I'm gonna be honest. Things have been so crazy, so wild that it's just man, I don't even have the words for it, honestly. We have... Texas was not prepared, as Illidan Stormrage would probably tell us. We've been getting blasted by this shit. Like, it has been some of the craziest garbage I have ever seen in my life. I was super duper lucky. I personally have been very, very lucky. My house never lost power until I tried to stream. My internet's been going on and off, so like I have not had reliable internet until today, which is why I haven't been streaming. And then as soon as I tried to stream, like literally I was like, okay, I'm gonna stream, and then 16 minutes before I was gonna go live, my power died. So I lost power for the first time. Yeah, I live on the same grid as a hospital, a very large hospital, so that is why I have not lost power. I've actually been able to keep power until earlier today, and even then it was only out for like 2 hours, or if that. But we were very fortunate. I had power, many people did not. I had running water, many people did not. We lost water on the north side of the house because the pipes froze. We managed to fix the upstairs pipes before anything bad happened, but our downstairs pipes actually burst. The hot water line burst, and however, we were like vaguely aware of where we thought it was stopped up when it was starting to like thaw a little bit, and we heard it explode. We heard the pipe burst, so we were actually able to take care of it like immediately. Like we were on that shit. Because we were super lucky. Like it literally happened in the middle of the day, when we were all around, so we were able to clean it up super duper fast. Yeah, so it's been wild, and like that's literally like god tier lucky though. Where I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas, like it has been bad, guys. There are so many people without power. There's so many people without running water. There's so many people without like good water. Like they have to boil their water if they want to use it because the treatment plants like have all been crashing and burning. It's been wild. But like I said, I personally have been doing great. I mean, we did our best to conserve power to try and help our neighbors. So we turned our heat like super fucking low. Like we had everything at like 60. Like we were trying to really minimize the amount of power we're using. So I didn't even want to try streaming even when we did have internet. We were doing our damnedest to use as little power as possible. But things are slowly coming back online across the state. But yeah, Houston and San Antonio in particular got oh man, they're doing so bad. I have a ton of family down in Houston, and they were without power for days. This is terrible, honestly. Texas was not ready for this because our government sucks. The state government of Texas is so bad, which we were just kind of able to ignore it until now. But man, it did blow up on our face. Anyway, I personally am great. I've been really stressed out because of a lot of what's going on. Nobody I personally know has been in a horrible situation. There are some people I'm aware of that have been in some bad situations, but nobody's died. I didn't vote for them. I voted for the other side. But unfortunately, a lot of the rural population of Texas votes straight ticket. They don't really give a shit about anything. I think they would rather die. Legit, I think they would rather die than admit that they were wrong. So, until the cities can overwhelm them. Anyway, I'm not going to get super into that. Thanks for the bits, MMO Addicted. I was amazed, honestly, at how badly insulated houses are in the States. Well, yeah, that's the thing, is normally we don't deal with this. Like, this has never happened before. I don't think there's been a freeze like this. Texas has not had a freeze like this in our recorded history. Never. Didn't the mayor of some Texas town say it's every man for himself? Yeah, he resigned. He had to resign immediately. Because he was an idiot. Yeah, he was kind of like, oh, nobody owes you anything. You should just buck up and fix it. And of course, he was like immediately fired and run out of town. Yeah, we are about to hit 50. Okay, so let's talk about fun things. There's actually fun things to talk about. But yeah, I'm okay. That's the takeaway. I am safe. Everything's okay. I've heard from many people in the community who are in places that are struggling, but everyone seems to kind of be hanging in there. So, MMO addicted. Yeah. You know what? The funny thing is, like, Texas houses are generally great for dealing with summer. Like, we're usually really, really good at dealing with lots of heat. We've got air conditioning everywhere. Like, it's very difficult to find buildings in Texas without hardcore AC, or at least moderate AC, and like fans, and like we're designed for summer. You know, it's like when I went to England for some of the Everchosens and some other stuff I've been there for. Whenever I'd go visit CA, they'd always put me up in a hotel, and there's a nice hotel now in Horsham, but the original hotel, I hated it because there was no fan or AC or anything, so I'd have to open my windows to have air, and I was like, how do these people live like this? Like, you know, whenever like a moderate heat comes into Europe, they all just start burning alive because they don't have any air conditioning or fans, which blows my mind. I'm like, why does every room not have a ceiling fan? What is wrong with you people? Luckily, the new Horsham Hotel has an AC unit in every room, which, yes, that's that's what I need. So anyway. How is everybody? How are y'all? I should stop talking about myself and talk more about y'all. What's up? AC is just a waste of energy? Not in this house. I will die on that hill. AC is God's gift to all of humankind. Like, if I had to pick one piece of technology to take with me on a trip, like, it has to be AC. Like, if I'm in a place that doesn't have fans or AC, or if there's not moving air where I'm at, oh, I'm not in a good mood. Thanks out, yeah. Yeah, this is definitely a Texas problem. I mean, some of the South I know is also struggling, but Texas, we're getting our ass kicked because of our stupid power grid issue, because we're idiots. CJ. Well, CJ, just hang in there, my dude. This storm should be over with on like Saturday. So for my fellow Texans, we're almost there. Just gotta hang in there a little longer, my dudes. Hang in there a little longer. All right, so let's talk about Big Red Downer, sorry. Big Red. Thanks for the tip, my dude. I'll only say this because the situation's kind of consistent institutional failure across the USA. Distinctly and constantly reminds me of the 1980s USSR. Barring a nuclear disaster, bad things happen, nothing gets done, reforms fail, etc. Yeah, I mean, in some places things have gotten better, but I don't know. It's complicated. The U.S. is going through a thing right now. I'll be like full on to say it that the last generation, my parents' generation, was super, super big on basically. They were really heavy into anti-intellectualism, basically looking at like the concept of being like really scientific and focusing on getting educated and learning about the world and all that stuff. They were very not that. They were living large, and that's all they gave a shit about, and they did everything in their power to live. How do I say this? I'm just gonna say this bluntly. I'm gonna say this very bluntly. The last generation in the United States were very greedy, and they did not care about doing the right thing or preparing for future generations. All they did was focus on building up their pockets and doing everything in their power to deregulate, and doing everything in their power to virtue signal. They were very big on virtue signaling, and we're having to deal with a lot of that now. You know, They were all about the war on drugs and all this. They loved doing stupid shit for, like, it's not even, like, you can't even say that they were, like, trying to be, like, Christian about it, because they were doing stuff that was just, well, yeah, it wasn't just my parents' generation. It was also the generation before that. Basically, like, the last 50 years. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and move on, because I'm gonna get into a huge rant, and that's not why people come here. Anyway, so, the good news is, there are fun things on the horizon, despite this last hell week. So let's talk about fun things coming up. So, first of all, assuming I do not have, the sooner that, assuming I have good, power and internet on Saturday, we will be live streaming Saturday morning the upcoming, thingamajigger, the Warhammer preview. So, here, let me kind of pull up my other screen here. Whoops, I still have all the things from the last Q&A. There we go. Okay, this music's a little too frantic. Let's do this. There we go. Just nice 10-hour Skyrim ambience. There we go. Very nice. Actually, I'm not going to show you on my screen. Y'all could just look at my stupid face the entire time. So, we're going to be live streaming this. There's going to be a lot of really cool stuff going on. That should be really fun. Do I think Katarine will be decent in melee given the sword, or am I expecting her to be a squishy caster? Makinchi, Katarine will probably be a pretty squishy caster. Like, she will probably have her sleigh mount, which will probably make her like a pretty spooky chariot lord. But she will definitely not be heavy combat. Did I find a video editor? Yes, I did. Eliza, you might have seen her in the Discord or pop up. You've probably seen her pop up in the Discord or maybe in the chat sometimes. She shows up in the YouTube chat, I think. So far, she's doing a great job. No, sorry. Yeah, Warhammer tabletop reveal. Tabletop stuff. It's tabletop stuff. But I will be doing it. Have I been playing in the World Tournament? No. I am supporting the World Tournament in various ways, but I am not playing it. There she is. There she is. She's in YouTube chat. I'll have some pretty interesting work for her pretty soon. Wasn't here earlier. Last Defender of Shuttle, thanks so much for the tip, my dude. People definitely come here to hear me rant. Well, ranting about politics is probably a little much. I feel like if I was gonna do like a whole political thing, I would do it somewhere else. not here. Is she my girlfriend? No, I no. Eliza's like an employee, she's a mercenary hire. She's the channel editor. I do not know her personally. Let's see. Have I run out of food yet? No. We saw this coming. Me and my family saw this coming, so we stocked up, and I was able to make it to the store today, because I kind of wanted to just go drive around. News about the old world? We might get some news about the old world on Saturday. Nice haircut? I have not had a haircut in months. I have to follow HR rules? No, I don't. No, it's contract work. Will Katarine come in the Dogs of War roster? No. Can we hope for a Cathay video anytime soon? Yes, there will be a Cathay video very soon. Probably in the next week or two. Christian, behave yourself. that's a weird comment, dude. I'm gonna be honest. That's a weird comment. Maybe walk that back like 10%. Big Red Bear, thanks again for the tip, my dude. Fine, talk about Elspeth then? I'm not talking about Elspeth. We're not doing that today. Some of the ROR chat were talking about running Soulbound. Want to join? Garanath is already in. Alt Iron, I actually just joined a Soulbound campaign. I don't think I'm gonna have enough time for another one. That being said, like, maybe, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I might look into it. The deliveries have all been delayed, but am I pumped for the Heat Night pre-order to arrive? Yeah, I'm super pumped for the pre-order to arrive. There's CJ, if you ordered yours from the store, you might still be able to get it on Saturday. Because the way they do it is if you order it from a Games Workshop, they're not guaranteed to do this, but some do this. The Citadel does this. But at the Citadel, if you pre-order something and you go in on the day, you're supposed to be able to pick it up. Excuse me. Even if your personal copy isn't there, but they have copies, you can just take one of those. Do I think Sasha Kajetan could be a Kislev legendary hero? I don't know who that is off the top of my head. Did I get the Champions of Order sourcebook? I did. I have very mixed feelings about Soulbound. Soulbound, I have to play it before I really like have committed opinions on it. But Soulbound is a super weird system compared to every other system I know of. Did I like the new Curse City model revealed today? The Necromancer? He's okay. He's an interesting model, but he's not quite what I would want in a Necromancer. He's a little bit like he's definitely the Heinrich Kimmler type of Necromancer, where he looks more like a hobo than anything else. And I like all of his little beasties, but so far I'm not super interested in them. What's the new branch that Games Workshop added? Warhammer Quest? That's the board game coming out. The City of whatever. Any thoughts of the Nintendo Direct? Yeah. The Project Triangle game looks super good. I'm really looking forward to playing that. I was disappointed that there wasn't any big news on like Metroid Prime 4 or Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. Skyward Sword, I played through the entire thing, I want to say like probably 6 or 7 years ago, so I don't think I'm going to pick that up unless they add something to it. And the new Smash characters, if you know what I'm talking about, you'll know what I'm talking about, but I definitely... the characters they went with are definitely a thing of, hey, I know those characters, and then you see what game you're from, and you're like, oh, I didn't know they were from a game. It's like, oh, wow. What are these two doing in here? You know, it was interesting. Yeah, Project Triangle has a square grid instead of a triangle grid, literally unplayable. Well, I mean, it is a working title. That is a very silly title. Hopefully they'll change it. Project Triangle. The Violet-Eyed Commander of one of the arena's most glorious squadrons of the Griffin Legion. Oh, Hammond, yeah, whoever the canonical leader of the Griffin Legion is, has a very good likelihood to be a Legendary Lord at some point, I think. Yeah. I like Warhammer Quest a lot so far. Like, the game looks fantastic so far. We've already seen that it looks like one of the models they're going to be revealing tomorrow is a Stormcast Eternal. So I'm kind of worried that one of the main characters, or one of the playable characters for Warhammer Quest, is going to be a Stormcast, which we probably should have saw coming. But God, I hate Stormcast. I mean, I like them a little bit, but I hate that they have to have their fingers in every single pie for AOS. You know, it's like, okay, we get it. You're there. Like, just go away. let us have our grounded fantasy moments. Like, honestly, I've actually been watching a fair amount of Soulbound campaigns, like just kind of tuning in and watching them on YouTube and stuff. I have yet to see a single person run a Stormcast because nobody likes them. Jennifer Jamieson, thanks so much for the tip. Can't wait for you and Legend to get together again. We probably will very soon. Me and Legend will be continuing our campaign sometime this week or next week. We were supposed to continue it earlier this week, but then, the Everwinter got me. Thoughts on Ulrika Magdova being a legendary lord for Kislev? I do not think she will be a legendary lord. I think Ulrika is going to get the Gotrek and Felix treatment. I think she's going to be exactly like Gotrek and Felix. They're not as obnoxious as Space Marines. That's true. That's true. I actually, I'm actually wanting to do a pretty in-depth video about Age of Sigmar, like discussing it in its entirety from a fantasy perspective, and then kind of using that as like a jumping point to start talking about the lore of AOS, because I finally finished. I now have every single battle tome. Like, I've gotten every single AOS rulebook, and I've read through them all. The only two I haven't read yet are Hedonites and Daughters of Cain, which come out this Saturday. Their new ones come out this Saturday. So I've read through all of them, and I have a lot of complicated feelings about AOS. And I've also been reading a shitload of AOS Black Library books. It's not as large as my fantasy library, but it's pretty hefty now. And I've read through most of them, and it's man, I have complicated feelings on AOS. How's Texas doing? Texas is not doing well. I personally am doing fine. My heart hurts for my state and my fellow Texans. My heart hurts very, very much. Do I think Ivan's gonna come back? No, I don't think Ivan's canon anymore. They might give him like a cameo appearance, but I think in the modern lore, like the more updated canon lore, Katarin's an only child, and I think they're gonna run with that. Thanks so much. Yeah, I know. We'll get it out at some point. Thoughts on how the lore of Ice will be implemented? It's probably going to get completely reworked. It's probably not going to be that close to how it worked in tabletop. Because back in 6th edition fantasy, the lore of Ice was very terrain heavy. Like, it would create terrain and it allowed you to manipulate terrain. It was kind of like the lore of life back then, which meant it was kind of useless if you didn't have like rivers or lakes or water features. But we'll go from there. Big Red Bear / Big Red Downer. Thanks for the tip. Stormcast will always be there. GW is probably more annoyed that people aren't accepting them as the new Space Marines. Sadly, they shouldn't accept them as the new Space Marines, as honestly, they repulse me. I already have Astartes, I don't need Stormcast. Dude, I will say this. I am so glad that Games Workshop's very ham-fisted attempts to make the Stormcast the Space Marines of fantasy have failed utterly. So bad. Stormcasts are not the most popular army by a landslide. They're very not competitive unless you do like goofy specific stuff, but very few people like playing them. The only place where Stormcasts are like still supported is Black Library. Black Library produces Stormcast shit so much you'd think that they don't do anything else. It's genuinely difficult to buy Black Library books that do not have Stormcast Eternals in them. It's possible, but it's difficult. Good lord, I'm so sick of Stormcast reading through the Black Library. There are some really good books, and sometimes some Stormcasts are written really well, some are not. It depends on the author. I've read some books that were just fucking miserable. I'm trying to think what good example. Oh, Plague Garden. Yeah, I just finished reading Plague Garden. I hated that book. I hated it. I thought it was absolute garbage. which is sad because it was written by Josh Reynolds, who for the most, I believe it was written by Josh Reynolds, who for the most part I really, really like. Some of his books, but for the most part I really like his books. And I thought Plague Garden was just absolute garbage. It had a really interesting premise, and then you read it and you're like, oh, this is terrible. This is like all the worst parts of AOS put together. That's another thing I want to start doing, is I really want to start doing book review videos. But I'm not exactly sure how I should do that. Like, if I should just pick a book that I've read recently and just, like, do a quick, like, 10-minute video on it, or if I should do, like, a longer video, but maybe about a couple books. I'm not 100% sure yet. Yeah, Ghoulslayer was great. Ghoulslayer was a super good book. Yeah, Black Pyramid was super strong. Soul Wars was great. I really like Soul Wars. Stormcast can be very hit or miss for me. Yeah, that is one thing I actually. Okay, I'll put it this way. I thought Plague Garden was a bad book because it's mostly about the Stormcast, and the Stormcast are the shittiest part of the book. The parts about Gutrot Spume and the Order of the Fly, which are literally Bretonia, like, they worship the lady, they have goofy accents, they have peasant militia, they are all Chaos Knights they're all about, they literally have a code of chivalry, and they are just hardcore, and they were Bretonia before Nurgle came, but then after they accepted Nurgle, they have become the Order of the Fly, so they are just new Nurgle. Or they're Bretonia. They're way more Bretonia than the Flesh Eater Courts are. I know a lot of people joke that the Flesh Eater Courts are Bretonia. I don't think so in comparison. The Flesh Eater Courts are more just like generic ancient fantasy medieval kingdom. The Order of the Fly are literally Bretonia, except for they're all Nurgle Chaos Knights. I love the Order of the Fly. Every time I've seen the Order of the Fly pop up, which they show up in a lot of books. Every time the Order of the Fly pops up, oh, they're hilarious. Like, they're very, very interesting because they have some really crazy conflicts in, like, the way they worship Nurgle while still maintaining their, like, Bretonian ancestry. They're actually really interesting characters. The Order of the Fly are super duper funny. Plus, they're actually knights. Like, they actually ride on steeds. The Flesh Eater Courts always pisses me off because they're advertised as, like, Bretonia, and they're like, oh, they see themselves as knights, but they don't have any cav. Like, Flesh Eater Courts are like the dead opposite of a knight army. Have I read Undying King? No, I don't have that one. But they're in a bunch of books I have. They show up in the Realmgate Wars. They show up in Blood of the Old World, which is the second Gotrek and Felix just Gotrek audio drama. They show up in the book I just read, Plague Garden. They show up in a lot of books, and they show up in a shit ton of short stories too. A video per book. Okay, we can do something like that. Just got into Beastgrave and it feels weird. I haven't read Beastgrave. I'm about to read not Beastgrave, but the newest one, Dire Chasm. But Dire Chasm looks like it's more of a collection of short stories. Any good Fireslayer books? I actually just picked this up. I haven't listened to it yet, but this is the Heirs of Grimnir audio drama by David Geimer. I love David Geimer for the most part. I'm sure there's something he's written that I don't like. That tends to be how it goes. But for the most part, I really, really like his work. So he's responsible for the new Gotrek books or audio dramas, so I'm really excited to listen to this. But as far as other Fireslayer books that are good, Fireslayers don't really have any good dedicated books. They have a lot of good short stories though. So if you pick up like Legends of the Age of Sigmar, or I think it's Myths and Revenants or Oaths and Conquests, I don't remember exactly which one of those it is. But, Legends of the Age of Sigmar, a third of it is dedicated to Fireslayer short stories. Those are pretty good. And then Missing Revenants and Oaths and Conquest, I know have some Fire Slayer stories that are decent. Am I looking forward to the new Gotrek book? Yes, absolutely, 100%. What's my favorite Beastman story? My favorite Beastman story is probably Gotrek and Felix Shaman Slayer. Gotrek and Felix Shaman Slayer is, like, really good for Beastman. So Hellebron's, yeah, dude, Hellebron's alive. Like, what the fuck? I just got a book that's actually really hard to get right now called, what's it called? The Covens of Blood. So Covens of Blood is a pure Daughters of Cain. Like, it's a thick novel, too. It's a pure Daughters of Cain novel. And I read the very first chapter, which is Olgu Part 1. And, like, they're just like, oh yeah, Hellebron's alive. Like, listen to how stupid this is. Hellebron is alive. She was the second... apparently she's called the second daughter of Cain because she's, like, the first spirit that Morathi pulled out of Slaanesh and remade. She's the exact same, though. She's the exact same. Hellebron is still a super old hag that doesn't know the truth behind Cauldrons of Blood, so she gets really old and haggard and then can perform a ritual every once in a while to make herself young again. She lives in the country somewhere in Olgu of Nagaroth in the city of Harganeth. She's the same! She's the same fucking character! And, like, apparently she, like, knows she's Hellebron, so, like, she still hates Morathi, she still has her rivalry with Morathi, and is still trying to, like, overtake her and kill her. And I'm like, Games Workshop, why? Why would you do this? If you're gonna bring Hellebron back, why did you make her the exact same? Like, I don't understand. I don't understand. It's so dumb. Like, she's not playable in the tabletop. I don't even know if she's in the army book. I think has anybody in here read the first edition Daughters of Cain book? That's one of the books I don't have. Because I'm just getting the second edition one this weekend. Like, do they talk about Hellebron in the first edition book? Because, I think it's maybe intended to be more like a joke. Like, maybe, like, Morathi literally just brought her back to, like, tease her or whatever. But it's super weird. I was not a fan of that. Like, if you're gonna bring a character back, you should change them. not bring them back to be the exact same. You know? That's just super fucking lazy. Hellebron, she's not in the Battle Tome. Okay, so she's just in that Black Library book. That's super dumb. I don't like it. That's probably one of the laziest things I've seen Games Workshop do. Which, granted, it may just be like that Black Library author decided to just put that in there as like an Easter egg. But like, it's super weird. Like, you figure Morathi would have been like, okay, I hate Hellebron, so I'm gonna bring her back and make her, like, my ultimate slave. Or, like, oh, she's so dedicated to Cain, she'll be a useful tool or whatever. But no, she just brought her back and made her the exact same and just, like, screws around with her. I don't know, it's super weird. No. I don't think Malekith and Hellebron, like, they barely ever interacted. The Hellebron was one of the most beautiful elves ever. And she was so beautiful that Morathi was kind of, like, slighted by her, just existing. Morathi did not like Hellebron when they first met. Because Hellebron wanted to be one of Morathi's handmaidens. Like, she wanted to, like, work and worship Morathi. And when Morathi first met her, Morathi decided to be a really spiteful bitch about it. And basically, like, embarrass the shit out of her. and was just like, yeah, no, get the fuck out of my face. And so Hellebron kind of like did not take that well, and she ended up just completely and utterly giving herself over to Cain. And she became... Morothy, like, made a deal with Cain, but Morothy doesn't actually give a shit about Cain. Morothy just cares about herself and her own ambitions. Hellebron is, like, actually, like, the ultimate simp for Cain. Like, she will do anything, and everything to further Cain's power. So I was actually pretty disappointed to just kind of see her offhandedly brought back like that. I think Hellebron could have actually been a really cool character in the Daughters of Cain book, as like a priestess who maybe knows Morothy isn't what is like pulling a fast one on everybody, and so she's like actually trying to resurrect. She's actually trying to bring back what's her face, or trying to bring back Cain and like steal the heart of Cain from Morothy, but. Anyway, so I'm very excited for this weekend, to see what all the Games Workshop's going to be showing us off. Hey, Nick Norton, thanks so much for the tip, my dude. I really appreciate it. The newest short story, I'm pretty sure, is Malarian hiring Skaven to stab his mom. What are we talking about? Also, getting higgy with it. Thanks so much for continuing your Prime sub. Thank you. I appreciate the support. Also, I hope you guys are cool with us just chatting today. I'm not really in the mood to play anything. Lore-wise, could I rank AOS armies in strength or do your top 5 strongest? Ask AOS coach. He's in here in chat. He'll know the answer. I am not that into the meta. I'm still at the point in AOS where, like, I'm just playing Night Haunts for fun. And so far, I'm mostly undefeated. But I think that's because nearly all of my opponents are fairly new to the game and are not, like, optimizing their lists. MMO Addicted and Crazy C4, thanks for the bits, my dude. Newest Age of Sigmar short story, Cold Winged Shadows hiring... Oh, okay. Well, Malarian should be coming out at the end of, I think Malarian's probably going to come out at the end of Broken Realms. Like, there's probably going to be a lot of build-up to Malarian being, like, the big bad. Crazy C4, thanks so much. Playing your Malekith campaign? It is a good campaign. Oh, lore-wise, what are the 5 strongest armies? The 5 strongest armies lore-wise in AOS are probably the Stormcast... not necessarily in this order, but the top 5 strongest armies in AOS right now are lore-wise are probably the Stormcast Eternals, Khorne Bloodbound, or Blades of Khorne, with her recent ascent to godhood, probably Daughters of Cain, Slaves to Darkness with the whole Everchosen stuff, and then probably Ossiarch Bone Reapers. Those are probably the big 5 right now, lore-wise. Any idea when the Chaos Wars Q&A will be out? Probably by the end of the month. Maybe. Hopefully, now that Eliza gets to do all the heavy lifting when it comes to editing, the Q&A video should actually be a lot easier to produce, because just making those videos is a nightmare. Have I ever played Battlefleet Gothic on tabletop? Nope. Hurricane Irma, thanks so much for the... Wow, big tip. Thank you. Thank you for the 20. What Lords of Magic will be seen in the 3rd game? What am I looking forward to see what makes them strong? Love your show. Stay warm in Texas. Well, thank you. In the new Lords of Magic that we know are going to be in Game 3 are going to be the Lore of Ice, the Lore of Zinch, the Lore of Nurgle, the Lore of Slanesh, the Lore of the Maw, the Lore of the Great Maw, Gastromancy. We're probably going to see the Lore of Hags, or aka the Lore of Spirits, for Kislev Hagmothers. And then for Cathay, maybe, I don't know what they're going to call their lores. They might just use the Lore of Heavens. That's what they're really known for, is being like the ultimate Lore of Heavens nation, next to like the Lizardmen. But we might also see them get like a unique lore, so maybe we'll see something called like the lore of Jade. Oh yeah, and you got the lore of Hashit for Chaos Dwarves. What makes them all strong? The lore of Ice, if it works like it kind of supposed to, is very much about debilitating people. It's very debuff heavy. And hopefully we also get to see stuff like it creating barrier walls of ice to like block off people, like to stop people from charging or cutting off a flank or something. I think that would actually be super powerful. But ice magic should be very, very heavy on debuffs and damage, mostly. Lore of Hashit is just pure in-your-face DPS. Like, Lore of Hashit is one of the scariest goddamn lores in tabletop, because it's just like, pah! Just like, it's like the full open palm, like, ripped Russian dude just smacking you across the face with fire damage. Lore of Nurgle is very buff/debuff heavy. It's got a little bit of damage to it, but it's mostly about buffing and debuffs. Lore of Zinch is probably going to be garbage unless they completely rework how it works. In tabletop, Lore of Zinch was terrible. Because Lore of Zinch, whenever you'd hit somebody with it, it had a like 50-50 chance to either hurt them or help them. So a lot of people refuse to use it. Lore of Slaanesh is going to be very big on armor-piercing damage and buffs and debuffs. But I think my favorite lore, like the lore I'm the most looking forward to, is the Lore of Ice. Thanks again for the tip. Bray herds? Oh, Big Red Bear. Archmage Eldrin, thanks so much for being here, my dude. Is there any Ice Guard lore? No, Games Workshop literally just created the Ice Guard like a year ago. When they announced Warhammer the Old World, one of the first things they told us about was the Ice Guard of Kislev. We know very little about them. Yeah, AOS Coach. Yep, I'm totally down for a game next weekend. Yes, sir. Does Lore of Nurgle include healing a region? I think it has a region spell. But it's not like its main focus. Do I think they'll try to do the Ice Wall spell? I hope so. Oh yeah, and Lore of the Maw. Lore of the Maw, the Great Maw, is very... It's very little damage. It's mostly just buffing. It's a very buff-heavy lore. Because it's designed to just make ogres go from being, like, pretty big to, like, fucking ridiculous. Oh, Tyler, thank you. CA keeping Neferata back to release alongside Jade Vampires? I doubt it. I don't think the Jade Vampires are going to be a thing. Like, I think there will be minor factions of vampires in Cathay, but I don't think they're going to have, like, unique assets or voice actors or anything. Y'all really got to manage your expectations on Game 3, dudes. Y'all got to, like, keep it level. What about Firebelly magic? Firebellies just use the lore of fire. Are the Ice Guard all women? Yes. Apparently. Which makes me wonder how they're going to work in Warhammer the Old World, because Warhammer the Old World takes place during the Great War against Chaos, which there was definitely a Tsar ruling, not an Ice Queen. So I'm not sure what's going to happen there. Well, yeah. The lore of gut magic does have some damage spells, but it's mostly about buffing. What about taco magic? That's basically what the lore of the Great Maw is. It's basically taco magic. Or pizza magic, or whatever your preference is. It's your yum lore. Doom Drink, you're not wrong, but like I said, I don't think it's wrong to hope for everything in Game 3, but don't like expect shit like a brand new vampire thing. Like I said, manage expectations. Now who knows, like maybe when they put out Neferata, they'll add like the Jade Vampire line to the little unlock system, the bloodline system. That would be really cool. Don't get me wrong. Unique lore of Nagash. That if we get Nagash in the game, we will get the lore of Undeath, which the lore of Undeath is the lore of Nagash. Will we get Firebelly farts? That will probably be an animation. I would be genuinely shocked if they did not put that animation in the game, because that's like easy hilariousness. Do I think CA overreached with their marketing campaign by freezing Texas? Yeah. Yeah, just a little. I think I would have preferred more of a demon approach than this ice approach. What ogre legendary lords do I think we'll get at the launch? Greasus Goldtooth and Scrag the Slaughterer for sure. If they do 4 legendary lords, it's probably going to be Greasus Goldtooth, Scrag the Slaughterer, Golgfag Maneater, and I always forget his name. The Rhinoxen guy. There's a white dwarf character for the Ogre Kingdoms who rides on a giant. Yeah, Gark Ironskin. Thank you. Any good death books? Oh, dude, there's a ton of good books for death. In Age of Sigmar, Lady of Sorrows. Lady of Sorrows is, it's so good. Lady of Sorrows is probably one of my favorite books, period. Not even just, like, favorite AOS books, one of my favorite books. I've heard Undying King is pretty good. I just read Neferata, Dominion of Bones. It was okay. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun, and I thought the way that it handled Neferata was really good. But one of the main characters is a little weird. He's just a little strange. They try really hard to make him like an interesting character. To explain how he goes from being raised his entire life to kill Neferata to being like her ultimate bodyguard. And I don't think the author did a very good job of explaining it. So it really comes off hard, like the only reason he goes against like his family clan and the indoctrination of how he was raised was because he saw Neferata when he was really young and he basically got like a boner that changed his life forever. And he's like, I have to protect this woman. Like, it's super weird. That's not the entire thing. There's a little more to it where they try and like add on to it, but like the initial way you learn about him, like it's really weird. Like Neferata is like one of the scariest backstabbing, nasty, evil people in AOS. And this guy, like, sees her when he's a kid, and he's like, oh, she's too pretty. She couldn't possibly be evil. Like, he's like the most hardcore white knight I've ever seen in a book, and it's very silly. Funny enough, after he dies and gets resurrected he gets resurrected as a Black Knight. He gets super cool after he becomes a Black Knight. When he's alive, I was like, I don't like this guy at all. After he dies, though, he's like, oh, okay, yeah, this is a pretty cool character. Like, he's kind of a badass. He's very silly, though. Like, he's got, like, one of the most two-dimensional motivations I've ever seen in a fantasy book. Any good books starting for people getting into lore who only play the Total War series? Yes! It's Saney? Sorry. But, yes, Go Trek and Felix. Go Trek and Felix is your friend for starting Warhammer Fantasy lore. Just start with the first omnibus, read your way through it. If you like Go Trek and Felix, then just read it all the way through. If you read some of it, if you, like, try and finish the first omnibus, because the first part of the first omnibus is a little weak, but the next 2 books are really good. Because it's 3 books put into 1. Troll Slayer is a little but Skaven Slayer and Demon Slayer are like some of the best in the series. If you get through it and you're like, I'm looking for something a little different, then I would also really recommend the Black Hearts Omnibus, as well as just picking like books that are about a race you really like. So if you're like, oh man, I really like High Elves and Dark Elves, well then pick up the Elves Omnibus. If you're like, I really like Dwarves, then pick up the Masters of Stone and Steel Omnibus. If you really like, Knights, pick up the Knights of the Empire Omnibus. If you want more like mystery and corruption and like cool stuff there, then pick up the Witch Hunter Omnibus. If you like chaos, there's 2 chaos omnibi. Like, there's tons of books. Tons and tons of books. My family is safe. Thank you, Crazy C4. How do the Chaos Dwarves themselves compare to regular dwarves in close combat? They're pretty much the same. They have a little bit more of a focus on offense than defense. There are less of them, but the ones that there are tend to be more elite. They also have a stronger focus on weapons that are specialized in dealing like mass damage to like large groups, because Chaos Dwarfs were designed in mind with the fact that they're a very elite army, so they're very they tend not to have a lot of guys unless they're going really heavy on hobgoblins, which are not reliable infantry. They're just meat shields. So the actual Chaos Dwarf infantry are very big on they're very specialized in killing, but they do have good defenses. But they're just a little different. Thoughts on Seeing Ball? I don't know what that is. How long do I think Games Workshop is going to beat the dead horse that are Sigmarites? You mean Sigmarines? Because Sigmarites are just people that worship Sigmar, which will always be a thing and always have been a thing for fantasy. I mean, it's gotten worse in AOS, but if anything, I actually want a proper Sigmarite faction in AOS. Like, we don't have any, like, warrior priests or witch hunters playable right now, which is super weird. Are hobgoblins between goblins and orcs stat-wise? Essentially, yeah. They're big goblins. They're not as tough as orcs, but they're like reasonably skilled. Any AOS Skaven books? Yes, there's quite a few. Well, there's not a ton actually. Skaven haven't gotten too much. Some good things. Let me think. Some will be down later. Sorry. They're just better goblins. Do Chaos Dwarfs have any Slayer/Berserker units? No. Chaos Dwarfs value, like, Chaos Dwarf lives much too high to have anything like a Berserker unit. Their, like, Slayer unit are these guys called the Infernal Guard, which are basically, like, really tanky. Like, they're super tanky. Because, like, instead of... When you get shamed in Chaos Dwarf Society, instead of, like, making a death oath and you strip off your armor and go die in combat, instead what you do is you get sworn into the Infernal Guard, and they take a really hot mask that's still, like, red hot, and they, like, burn it to your face. And you don't get to take it off until you have, like, redeemed yourself through service. But they're very, very nasty. Yeah. Now, you can leave the Infernal Guard. Like, once you've served long enough or served well enough, you can be, like, forgiven, and you will be able to leave the Infernal Guard and go back home. What parts of the Warhammer world do we know virtually nothing about? Pretty much anything in the Far East. We know little bits and pieces about just about everything. The only place, I think, on the Warhammer world where we literally know nothing, I think, is the Lost Isles of Ethis. Lost Isles of Ethlis, something like that. Which are supposed to be something between, like, Australia and Indonesia. It's a set of islands off the southeast part of the world. We know literally nothing about them. Infernal Guard versus Ironbreakers? It would take a very long time. Ironbreakers are tankier, but Infernal Guard have stronger weapons. Because they have, like, halberds that are also guns. Fireglaves! Fireglaves are absolute bullshit. For rules-wise, because they are, like, legit halberds that are also rifles. Are the Inferno Guards' faces just fucked up forever from the masks? Noah, I don't know if you've seen Chaos Dwarves. Their faces are just kind of fucked up in general, to be honest. They're like the ugliest dwarfs in existence, and that's before you notice that they have, like, jutting lower jaws because they have tusks. I mean, they literally have mutations. They're not pretty. What is the lore for the Crimson Killers? I don't remember it off the top of my head. I know there is something to it, though. I'd have to go look it up. Do I think Warhammer 3 will have a new diplomacy system? I think it will have an improved diplomacy system. I don't know about a new diplomacy system. Do the Chaos Dwarves have a book? They show up in a couple books. Wulfric the Wanderer's book, which I think is just called Wulfric, has an entire couple chapters dedicated to the Chaos Dwarves, which is pretty good. They're also one of the primary antagonists in Gotrek and Felix, The Road of Skulls. Oh yeah, sorry about the Streamlab alerts are muted. Did you just send it? I talked about your one earlier about the Stormcasts. I don't see anything in there right now. Might take a minute. Let me refresh it. There it is. I should have put Sigmarines. I tend to put Sigmarites out of habit. I'll not go on a rant on my overt disdain for them as a whole, but one thing that repels me from the most of the fiction is their participation in it. Trash ideas, trash, it turns out. I mean, I am not 100% on the hate Stormcast train. I dislike Stormcast Eternals, and I think there are some very weak elements of their lore, but I think there are some very strong elements of their lore. Some of my favorite AOS short stories are about Stormcast Eternals, but it really focuses in on, like, the nightmare aspect of them. So, like, either focusing in on the ones who have gone through enough reforging, so they've, like, died enough times, that, like, they're starting to have genuinely scary side effects, and they're, like, dealing with the trauma of having died, like, tons of times, and they just keep losing pieces of themselves, so they start turning into, like, automatons, and, like, dealing with that on a anxiety level, while also dealing with it from those around them noticing that they're, like, not the same. I find that aspect of Stormcast to be really, really interesting. And I've read lots of books where it will have a Stormcast character, and they're written so well you can't not love them. Like, one of my favorite characters in Age of Sigmar lore is Zephacleus, which Zephacleus, he actually has his own book that I just got a little bit ago. Zephacleus is the Lord Celestin, I think, of the Astral Knights. He's great. He's a fucking hilarious character. Like, he's basically just, I don't know the best way to describe him, but he's basically like a fantasy berserker barbarian that just happens to be a Stormcast, but every book he's been in, I've absolutely loved him. Hey, XYZWV, what's that where Hawaii would be in the Warhammer world? Ocean. Or presumably an island that is so tiny that you can't really see it on the world map, or it has not been found by anybody, so it doesn't show off on any cartography. So, like, if there is a Hawaii, which there probably is, there's something there, but I don't know what. But it's never been on any maps. Immo Addicted, thanks for the bits, my dude. That's why I like Soulbound, the Hall of Memories. It's a secret place the Stormcast can store. Yeah, yeah, like Stormcasts have good lore. It's just that, in general, they run into. There are authors that do not do a good job with them. I hear the Ambassador book dialogy is pretty popular. Ever heard about it? Dimitri, I am familiar with it. I have not read it yet. The Ambassador dialogy takes place. It's part of the series of books they released for the Storm of Chaos, which is why it's pretty low on my to read list. I do want to read it because it's some of the only, like, true Kislevite lore we have. But it takes place during an event that is no longer canon. So I will get around to reading it before Warhammer 3 comes out at the very least, but it's not on my immediate list. Mateus, you okay there? why don't you take a why don't you chill out just a little there, buddy? Hold on, I gotta... Yeah, chill, dude. I don't know what's going on with you, but chill. Alright, who do I say is thicker, Greasus or the Great Unclean One? I mean, legally I have to say a Great Unclean One, but I feel like Greasus is more of the spirit of being thick. Hello, Sithu. How you doing? Who would win between Tarx the Brass Bull versus Bahamut Beastslayer? I put my money on Tarx. I think a Bretonnian would get absolutely destroyed by Tarx because I feel like they would not... Their style of fighting does not lend itself well to going for a pure single weak spot. Who should chill? Someone in Twitch chat, not y'all. Is Greasus thick or thick? He's obviously thick. Kind of worried how they will handle, because monogods don't have that many units. Dude, monogods have a lot of units. Monogods... Okay, so you have to remember, what monogods are all of their demons for just that god, right? So, like, let's take Khorne, for instance. So you got Bloodthirsters, you've got Heralds of Khorne on all their different mounts, you've got Bloodletters, Skull Cannons of Khorne, Blood Crushers, which are Bloodletters mounted on Juggernauts. Then you have all of the Warriors of Chaos that are mono-Khorne. So you have Skull Crushers. Then you have, presumably, Chosen, Chaos Warriors, Marauders. Like, you're going to have the whole Warriors of Chaos roster, but they're mono-gods, so they're all marked. You're just not going to have any wizards. And then on top of that, you're going to have all the demons. Their rosters will be just fine. Oh yeah, Fleshhounds, yeah. Jake, I'm reading the Blackhearts. I'm wondering the lore of Sisters of the Sisters of Shalia. So Shalia is one of the goddesses of the Empire. She's the goddess of healing and mercy. The Sisters of Shalia are basically like nuns. So they are very hardcore, peaceful. Like, they are not allowed to take life under any circumstances. Like, they're not allowed to even defend themselves. They are purely there to heal and to protect the sick and the poor and those who cannot, who need aid. When you read Blackhearts, you'll probably notice that the first one isn't quite what she seems. If Belikar was a Chaos God, what do you think would be his emotional portfolio? If Belikar became a full god, he would probably be like the Chaos God of Power or the Chaos God of Pride. And like the God of Chaos Undivided would probably be his big thing. What do I think is the most likely non-Ogre or Chaos Dwarf race DLC? I think Dogs of War is probably the next most likely one. Can I tell us about my stream with Legend? What about it? It was fun. I keep accidentally I keep screwing him over on accident because I keep having war declared on me or me declaring war on the AI, and I forget to like untick the thing where it says draw your allies into conflict, so I keep drawing him into my fights against AI factions like an absolute doofus. I really hope they add something along the lines of blood magic for Khorne. No! No, Mr. Phoenix, no! That would be the most uncoordinated... No magic! No magic! If it's Khorne, no magic. You're not allowed to have magic if you're playing Khorne. It's the rule. It's the law. Doesn't matter. The rule of cool does not apply in that case. It's too great a violation. If you want magic, play one of the other gods. Or play Undivided. Hopefully, the Archaon will be an undivided option, so you can have Skull Crushers and still have wizards. If Be'lakor was the Chaos God of Undivided, it wouldn't be Undivided. Well, it would be, because he would be filling up... So, if Be'lakor ascended to godhood, he would probably be the God of Chaos Undivided, which just meant that if you were Chaos Undivided, wittingly or not, if you desired it or not, your efforts would feed into Be'lakor. Why don't I like 40k? Because 40k is purely about Space Marines. And every other faction that exists purely to serve as fodder for Space Marines. Or to act as material for Space Marines to be compared against, or fight against, or ally to, or whatever. Space Marines are just all that matters, and I fucking hate Space Marines. They're super boring. I'm sorry. I really like Tyranids. I think Tyranids are super cool and interesting. There is nothing for me to read and do in 40k. Like, if I wanted to go buy a book that has Tyranids in it, to my knowledge, I am basically guaranteed to have to pick up a book about Space Marines killing Tyranids. And that's the only option. But like, most of the Xenos just exist to die. Like, I don't understand why someone is a Xenos player in 40k. Like, you get so little support. Like, and I'm also including Imperial Guard as Xenos because you get so little support, you might as well be Xenos. I'm so sorry. There's an omnibus called The Great Devourer that seems to be about Tyranids. Yeah, it's about Tyranids dying. Also, I've just never been big into futuristic aesthetic. Like, I don't like space guns. I find 40k to be a difficult setting to take seriously or be interested in, because the weapons that exist in 40k are so over the top and ridiculous that I just don't understand why there's any close combat ever. Because it feels like if you are in a situation where close combat ends up happening, you're an idiot. Hey, thanks for the tip. Tom Van Chinch? Yes. I'm just going to call you Tom. What two Chaos Gods would have the best chance at killing the other two? If they were all team up? If Khorne and Tzeentch could team up, they would absolutely dominate Nurgle and Slaanesh. It wouldn't even be funny. Have I heard about the Blood Legion in 40k? No. I don't know a lot about 40k. You better talk to my shovel. Nemerin, are you talking about that group of guys that dig the trenches and have the shovel that are not supported anymore, like at all? The Krieg, Death Corps of Krieg? Didn't Forge World get rid of your line of models? Hey, Darius Ferris, good to see you, dude. Could I talk about the Wood Elf in the Cursed City? We know she's a Kurnothi, which is super interesting. We don't know a lot about her, though. All we know is that she's Kurnothi, which is really interesting. Because Kurnoth is literally just Kurnos, so it's Orion. Literally is Orion. Like, even the way they describe him, he's freaking Orion. He was in AOS, but he died. And now Alariel was his lover. And she carries around his spear as a weapon, the Spear of Kurnoth. But I honestly think Alariel is going to try and resurrect him. I don't know if it's going to work, but I think she's going to try. But the Kurnothi are definitely on their way to being released as a faction. I don't know if the Kurnothi are going to be fused with the Wanderers, or if they're going to be fused with the Sylvaneth, but they are definitely coming. Or they might be a standalone book, but yeah, they are absolutely coming out. How might the Beasts of Chaos get updated in Age of Sigmar? Beasts of Chaos are going to get updated because they're releasing all the different the monogods. So Korngors, Slongors, Pestigors, and Zongors. We just got Slongors released. They're coming out this Saturday. Zongors have a very large range, all things considered. Slongors, unfortunately, are only a single type, but they're big. Like they're like Minotaur-sized. I think Pestigors are going to come out very, very soon with the Maggotkin of Nurgle 2nd edition book, and then Korngors will come out some point later. So that's all going to update the Beastman line, Beast of Chaos line, pretty heavily. And then hopefully Beasts of Chaos will get rework or new models for their Dragon Ogres, and they'll bring back a couple special characters. Like, rework the Dragon Ogre range and give us Krakenrock the Black as a tabletop model and make him, like, Mega Gargant sized. That'd be fucking amazing. Or at least Gargant sized. Like, but he needs to be fucking huge. Because they've sown the seeds for playable Beasts of Chaos characters, being that Morgur is still alive. Like, Morgur is a god, but he just hasn't managed to manifest a physical form in AOS yet. So hopefully Morgur will become playable, and hopefully Krakenrock the Black, the father of all Dragon Ogres, will become playable. That's what I'm hoping for. Dude, Garanath, I don't know what to tell you about that. That's actually one of the biggest things I have to talk about when I do my big episode about because I'm wanting to do a big video where I just talk about AOS and kind of like get my feelings out about it. Because apparently people would find that interesting. But I am really curious, or one of the only massive issues I have with AOS is that the dwarfs or the Dwarden very unsupported right now. Granted, it could just be that it's not their time yet. You know, the elves are just now kind of getting focused, and now there's like so many elves we don't even know what to do with them all, and there's like there's at least 2 more elf factions coming with the Kurnothi and then the Shadowkin or whatever the fuck Malarians guys are called. So like there's so many elves. And like I'm great, but I'm kind of sick of them. Like and the Dwarden range just sucks. Like, the Dispossessed range is pretty small, and it's split between the Ironweld and the Dispossessed. And they're part of the Cities of Sigmar, so I don't even count them. And then the Fireslayer range is absolute ass. It is one of the worst ranges in the tabletop. Because they all look the same. Like, they're just too... The Fireslayers were a cool idea, but the moment they decided that the Fireslayers all had to be naked dwarves, they fucked up. They fucked up really hard. Because it just makes them all look way too similar. Like, you can't have an entire army of Pure Slayers as a faction. You can have that as like a sub-faction within your faction, but having a pure Slayer army was an idiot's decision. The Caradron Overlords also have way too small of a range, but at least they're interesting looking, and they have like really interesting models. The Fireslayers literally have naked dwarves and naked dwarves on top of Magmadroths, and that's it. And from most surveys that I've seen and most data that we can get our hands on, Fireslayers are probably the least light of all of the tabletop armies. Like, the only reason people will seem to really play Fire Slayers is either they really like them, which is super rare, or they just play them because they're really, really competitive. And the way that they're competitive is super fucking boring. They just don't die. Like, you literally just buy a shitload of guys and put them on the table, and you're like, okay, I have a 4-up. I have a 4-up, can't die. Which, don't get me wrong, I think the Fire Slayers are cool, but I think the mercenary, they went too hard on the mercenary angle, which makes them really difficult to like, because I don't think people want to play mercenaries. I think if you're playing a Order faction or you're playing dwarves, I don't think being a mercenary is an attractive trait. And it pisses off the old dwarf fans. Like, every single person I talked to that was like a hardcore dwarf player in fantasy does not like the Fire Slayers, and they do not like the Caradron. They don't like the Caradron because the Caradron are just a little too steampunk, but they can, like, at least appreciate them. The ones I've always talked to about Fire Slayers fucking hate them because they're mercs, which is just super dumb. Like, get rid of the mercenary angle. Get rid of it. Just throw it in the trash. Make, like, one of the sub-factions mercenaries. Make the rest of them not mercenaries. Or if they're going to be mercenaries, they should be a destruction faction, frankly. Mac and She, here's... No. That doesn't disagree with me at all. The reason people like Dogs of War is not because they're mercenaries. It's because... Well, it is because they're mercenaries, but it's because they're like a motley horde. It's like a bunch of... They're a bunch of mutts. It's a bunch of random-ass groups from all these different crazy places all working together to make these really awesome and crazy cohesions. If they were a pure single race, I don't think anyone would like them. What if Grimgor ascended to godhood? Would he challenge the... Yeah. Grimgor lived only to punch things in the face. If he became a god, he would immediately just start punching gods in the face. However, if he fought the Chaos Gods, he would definitely lose. Unless he had a lot of help. What races have afterlives and which do not? In fantasy? In fantasy, everybody has an afterlife. Except for... Well, it depends on how you define afterlife. If you mean, like, there's, like, a planned world waiting for them, pretty much everybody has one except for Demons of Chaos, which Demons of Chaos literally just, like, are recycled unless they suffer a true death, which is super rare. In which case, they just kind of stop existing. But the only race that really doesn't have an afterlife per se are vampires. And that's because to become a vampire, you essentially, when you undergo the blood kiss, you basically separate yourself from the coil of the spirit. So not the mortal coil, but like the spiritual coil. You basically like remove your soul from the normal systems. And because of that, if you die, you just cease. Your soul is just kind of like forever bound to your remains, or like the idea of you. So like theoretically you can be resurrected no matter how long it's been, but like your soul doesn't go anywhere. You just fall into like a bottomless black abyss. Like you're not aware of it. You just cease. It's like how we die, presumably, maybe. I hope not, but maybe. Do I think Mono Gods will get Mark Doombulls as lords? No. Sign of the Emperor, I think if they do Mono God Beastmen, which they hopefully will, I think those are going to be exclusive to the Beastmen roster. I don't think they're going to show up in the Mono God rosters. What about Lizardmen? Oh, yeah, that's another good... Yeah, Lizardmen don't have an afterlife either. Lizardmen do not have an after... Well, I mean... The Slann kind of do. The Slann just... The Slann, like, can just choose not to die. They're just, like... If a Slann dies, assuming their soul doesn't get, like, devoured or something, most of them become relic priests, because they're just like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna die, fuck that. So they just, like, hover around their corpse. Do I think the Fire Slayers will put their god back together after collecting enough gold in their story part of AOS? I don't know, Michael Stevens. I honestly, I think and hope that Gotrek is just going to become the god of fire, and as Urgold releases the essence of Grimnir by being used, that he will eventually like fully adopt into the role. But the only problem with that is that they're really enjoying having him as kind of just a marketing thing for Black Library and just getting lots of money from books and short stories. And his overall story doesn't seem to have a ton of direction right now. It seems like it's just kind of like meandering to be just endless, which doesn't bode well. And also, he already has a model out that does not fit the role very well. Because if you're gonna have a god of fire, so like a new Grimnir, I would very much like them to be mounted on a Magmadroth and be like a big, scary, fuck you god character. I don't want the god characters to... Like, every single one of the gods should be, like, large, badass models. They should not be, like, tiny little dudes. If I could make a new Dwarven faction, what would it be? I'm asking as a dwarf fan. Pyromecho, I want just old school dwarfs, to be honest. Or something based around them. Like, I want dwarfs in heavy armor. I want dwarves in full plate, wielding, like, runic weapons, crackling with power, and just, like, they're just super over the top, like, all about, like, metallic stuff. You know, classic stuff. I want them to have, like, lots of black powder and, like, large war machines that are all about, like, cannons. Like, they're not mobile, they're just, like, put it in the ground, fucking shoot everything, and bring back rune magic. Make rune magic big dick. No, well, so Shirajira, we're talking about in AOS. Dwarden are AOS dwarfs. In AOS, there is no heavy armor dwarf faction. They're the dispossessed, but the dispossessed need to be like their own book. The problem I have with AOS dwarfs is that the Caradron overlords are not heavily armored. If anything, they're lightly armored. And the Fire Slayers technically have high armor saves because of their runes, their Fire Slayer runes in their flesh, but they're naked for the most part. Like, their protection comes from, like, magical auras that radiate through their body because of the runes hammered into their skin, not because they're wearing any goddamn armor. How powerful is Grimnir? He's pretty fucking powerful. I mean, he's one of the strongest gods. He's a warrior god, so he's good at kicking ass and taking names. Where does Nagash live? In what setting? Hello, Chris Eaton. What's up? Is being enslaved by Nagash as bad a fate as being claimed by the Dark Gods? No. I think being claimed by the Dark Gods is generally worse because you're going to be tortured and tormented for presumably all of time until they, you know, snuff you out. Whereas Nagash will use you, like he'll utilize you, but you're not really like in pain or anything unless you pissed him off, in which case you will be. But generally when you're serving Nagash, you're just kind of there. Like, it's almost kind of like being trapped in a gray, endless fog where you're never like really sure what's going on. And you're just kind of compelled to do things. What kind of afterlife do Skaven have? Skaven afterlife tends to not be great. When Skaven die, they go to the realm of ruin, which is the pocket of the realm of chaos where the horned rat hangs out. And generally, if you're a Skaven and you die, you get devoured by the horned rat, which is apparently not a great time. Where does Nagash live in AOS? He lives in Nagashazar, which is at the center... Well, now it's at the center of the Realm of Death. How's life in Kislev? This winter bullshit should be over in about 2 or 3 days. But man, it's been rough. It's been rough. Nagash is a trash god. He's a dick. I won't deny that he's a dick, but Nagash is easily my favorite of the gods right now. I am all in on Team Nagash. Fucking love Nagash in AOS. He's great. Oh yeah, Daniel Martin. Sorry, it is up. It's just not making any noise. Daniel Martin, thanks for the tip. Hey, Sotek Ledger. Well, I was wondering if a greater demon underperforms, what can become of them? Can they be demoted or made into something else or reabsorbed? What about a failing demon prince? So yes to most of those. If a greater demon does like a super shit job, usually what happens, like the most normal form of punishment for a greater demon is that they will be, their form will basically be shattered and sent back to the Forge of Souls, where they have to be reformed. Like they have to be, rebuild their physical form, and it's excruciatingly painful. It is like one of the most horrible things to endure for a demon. They hate it. That being said, if they are screwing up and like they continue to screw up, other things can, other things can definitely happen to them. They can be permanently killed and like reabsorbed into the god's essence. They can be punished by being forced to be made into something. So like the god or one of the gods or another greater demon or some sorcerer or whatever might like take their essence and trap it within a weapon or a piece of armor or a ring or a mirror or whatever, some item that'll give it, notable powers, and the demon's just stuck in there and it sucks. All of those things are totally possible, and they can be perma-killed by like being absorbed back into their patron god, because all demons are literally just a fragment of the god they serve. Except for undivided demons like Furies, which are something a little different. But as for demon princes can be punished. They can like be tortured and suffer, but they cannot be destroyed. Unless they're killed by like a weapon that's capable of doing so. But like the Chaos Gods have never destroyed a demon prince. Generally, demon princes have done well enough that they are kind of past the point of being punished in such a way, because they tend not to mess up that bad. Because they're like the best of the best when it comes to mortals. The gods can strip away their powers, not entirely, but they can strip away enough of them to make them like much weaker and basically just like shadows that float around. But yeah, hopefully that's interesting. Fletcher Reed, thanks for the tip, my dude. No message, but appreciate the smiley face. Why are dwarves such good monster killers? Because they're incredibly stubborn and incredibly patient, and the weapons and armor they tend to use are very well designed to deal with something that can just splat a human being with a single hit. Have I ever created my own legendary character for Warhammer? When I was younger. I have not created an OC in the Warhammer Fantasy Universe in a long time. Since CA tends to release 3 DLCs per game, is Game 3 going to release the pre-order and the first DLC faction to come? What do I think will be the second faction? Dogs of War or Nagash? Probably Nagash, but Song of Power, just because something's been done for Game 2 or 1, does not necessarily mean, by any means, that the same thing is going to happen for Game 3. Are Furies sentient? They're sentient, but they're more like animals than like people. They're basically really small emotions or fragments in the realm of chaos that have coalesced into a sentient creature, being a Fury, and they are the absolute bottom of the food chain. Like they are the, well, not quite the absolute bottom, but they're very close to the absolute bottom. But no, they cannot become named or a demon prince or anything like that. They do not have echelons. They're more like, they're scavengers. They're the bottom of the food chain. Do we know what the pre-order race is yet? No. Trust me, when that gets announced, it's going to be all over the goddamn place. Big Red Bear is upset that Dwarfs cleaned his clock. Oh, are y'all playing multiplayer or something? What's a fury? Not a furry, a fury. Ah, pro numeral, you got me, man. Those are the magic words. Yes. Okay. Well, if I'm just gonna like throw everything out on the table and just admit everything I know, then it's important for me to tell you all that the race pack for Total War Warhammer 3 is actually going to be it's called the Dogs of War, but all it is it's basically just they took Dogbert and they just modeled his face into the game, and basically it's every single like race and monster, but they all have Dogbert's head. It's actually pretty terrifying, to be frank, but it is one of the strongest factions. So that's what you can look forward to. I shouldn't have done that. You know, that is violating like the contracts I've signed, but you know, per numeral, he just called me out, so I had to do it. Had to do it. How would I make an African faction for Warhammer 2? Something maybe based on the Zulu? Yeah, that would be awesome. I would love to see like a legit African human faction. But yeah, it would probably have to like I don't know a lot about African empires. There is a long history of conflict in Africa and a lot of very famous warlords and strategies. And technologies and stuff like that I would love to see implemented into a Warhammer world. And Africa has some very fascinating rich mythology that could create some pretty wild monsters. But I don't think we'll ever see that happen. That would take a lot of work to create from scratch. No, not pygmies. Never pygmies. I would take Shaka Zulu in fantasy, though. That'd be badass. Never pygmies. No pygmies. Never pygmies. Hippocap? Dude, if you could tame a hippopotamus and ride it into battle, hippos would be fucking terrifying. Like, they're already so scary. Oh, hyenas, dude. If you took hyenas and like Warhammer fantasied them up, oh, those would be super badass creatures. Yeah, there are African-based empires in Age of Sigmar. That is true. But that's because, I mean, Games Workshop has made a very strong effort to make AOS very inclusive and to make, like, everything possible. Like, they're like, hey, every race is in the game. Like, if you identify as X, there is something in AOS for you. Like, if you're, you know, the black people were not represented at all in Warhammer Fantasy until very late. And even when they were, they don't really have like an empire they get to identify with, or like oh look, you know, like if you have a young man or girl or a lady that's trying to get into the game, they don't get to have that cool moment of like, that person looks like me. Not really, which is a bummer. That sucks. Did I know Shaka Zulu means intestinal beetle? Really? Talaris Dreadbringer power level? Talaris Dreadbringer is one of the deadliest duelists. He's one of the deadliest elf duelists. Because he specializes in decapitations. That being said, I would put him like a tier below Tyrion. Yeah, the closest African faction is Egypt. That is correct, or Nehakara, which is the Tomb Kings now, unfortunately. Eliza, that's already a thing. There have already been trans characters introduced in Age of Sigmar who are Stormcasts. So they were one gender, or they were born a certain gender, and then when Sigmar reforged them, they literally came out as the way they felt should be right. Like, the way they identified. And, like, felt was correct. And, like, that's how they were reforged. Which is great. That's a really cool, like... That's a fun, awesome lore bit. They've already done that. What happened to a Lithanar? We don't know. After the End Times Kane, I have no idea what happened to a Lithanar. He never showed up again after that. He threatened Malekith and then he vanished. We have not seen him in AOS yet. Who do I think will be the 6th Dark Elf Legendary Lord? It's either going to be Talaris Dreadbringer or Rakarth, the Beast Lord. I know Major Code made a video about it, but how do I think a Space Marine Legion would do against the Warhammer Fantasy World? I think the Space Marines would probably devastate the shit out of the Warhammer Fantasy World until they ran into either the Lizardmen. I think some of the fantastical races, especially the magic-heavy races, would be a genuine threat. Space Marines do not have anything that would protect them from magic. At least from the way I understand how Space Marines work, if Space Marines went up against Balthazar Gelt, unless they managed to kill him, which they could totally probably do, seeing as he's kind of just a guy, but he does have magic stuff protecting him. But, like, a metal wizard would devastate Space Marines. Like, are you kidding? You just had the Space Marines show up and they're like, yeah, we're invincible in armor. And the metal wizard's like, and you're made of molten lava. Like, and you're dead. I'm pretty sure wizards would just absolutely annihilate Space Marines. I think that, like, humanity, so, like, the Empire and Bretonnia would probably get owned. Maybe, like, a couple of champions would stand a good fight. But, like, I think the High Elves, Dark Elves, Lizardmen, I think any of those guys would just absolutely the Space Marines. Space Marines are protected from magic by plot armor. We'll just throw Archaon at him. He's got more plot armor. He'll win. Space Marines are allowed to die because, like, Gene Seed or Ultimate Sacrifice shit. Archaon's not allowed to die, so he'll win the plot armor fight. Or we could throw Gotrek at him. We will out-plot armor the plot armor, boys. Duncan Keeley, oh, thank you for the very generous tip. Thank you for the 30. Stay safe, man. Hope things get better for you down there. Thank you. I appreciate it. I personally am doing great. We have been very, very lucky here. Living, you can already play as a gyrocopter. Shut up and sit down. Darius Furrier, tell me about Nippon and trans characters in AOS, please. While we're at it, please tell me if I can pick these samurai here and use them in game. I mean, you could do samurai models for AOS or even fantasy. They actually, like, gave loose ideas of how you could do samurai armies in fantasy and use, like, the Empire rules to play them. But Nippon is based on Japan during, I think, the Warring States era, the Sengoku, I forget how to say it right. But, like, when all the shogun ship were, like, just flying at each other. But that being said, Nippon does have, like, really wild creatures and monsters. Like, they have Oni, which are, like, their own unique forms of demons, which they're not true demons in fantasy. They're more like spirits. Sengoku Jidai. Yeah, thank you. I probably am pronouncing that horribly, but, Nippon does have a lot of fascinating stuff going on, but it is a human-dominated empire, but they do have a lot of crazy monsters and critters running about. And then, for the trans characters in AOS, the only one that I'm aware of off the top of my head are the Stormcast Eternals. I know there was basically, like, it was kind of referenced, because they wanted to be like, hey, this is a thing that exists, and then that's really all they've done with it so far. There hasn't been, like, a hardcore focus on a character designed around that. But who knows? Maybe we'll see that in the future. If we get Pontus... I don't want to play Pontus! CA, how could you? I don't want to play as fucking Pontus. Fucking love that meme. I jump out my window, but I'm on a second story and it's cold outside. Oh, sorry, Spider Patches. Do I think the Dragon Emperor will be an actual shape-shifting dragon? He fucking better. If the Dragon Emperor cannot at least turn into a dragon, I'm going to be furious. Also, ZYX, thanks so much for the tip, my dude. What parts of Chaos from AOS do I want to see in Total War Warhammer 3? Honestly, I would be okay with any of the Mono God units. From AOS. I would be, like, we're already getting AOS demons, which I'm really excited about. But I would be happy with any of the units they've added in AOS to Fantasy. Like, I'd be happy with the new Slanesh archers, which there's the foot version and the mounted version. I'd be fine with all the new demons they've added, where, like, they're, like, new heroes and units and stuff. I'd be happy with, like, the Putrid Blight Kings for Nurgle, or I forget what they're called, but there are... So Plague Drones are already Plague Bearers on top of giant Plague Flies, but there's also a Putrid Blight King version where it's Blight Kings on top of Plague Flies as Monstrous Cav, which are super badass. For Zinch, I'd love to see, like, all of the... oh, yeah, I need the Mono Beastmen. Like, please, God, put Zongors, Pestigors, Korngors, and Slongors in Fantasy. But those are the only AOS units I'd be okay with, is the Chaos ones. Because they work. Like, they look appropriate, they're themed appropriate. The new AOS armies, no, they wouldn't work. Like, I don't think you can do Sylvaneth. I don't think you could do, like, anything from Order or Destro or Death you could not do, honestly, I think, without introducing problems. But Chaos, give me all that shit. For Chaos, I want everything from AOS, honestly, in Fantasy, and I think it would be just fine. Except for the characters. Don't include the new special characters. Like, I don't need any of the new special characters, but just give me like the units for the Mono God armies, because they're just great. I've never understood the appeal of Marked Beastmen. The appeal of Marked Beastmen was that they added in they kind of filled a gap in that they were like really elite with like specialized abilities. So the Beastmen roster was really, really thin. And one of the main ideas to fill that in was to have Mono God Beastmen or Marked Beastmen have, like, actual new abilities. So, like, if you had a unit of Zongors, not only would they look very, very different, but they would have, like, the ability to maybe cast spells like Horrors do, or have, like... But it was basically just to kind of add in mid-tier to high-tier elite units, so that you don't just go... Ungor, Gore, Bestigor, done. Because it's just very narrow because they don't have a lot of weapon options. So, like, a Korngor is basically just a Bestigor that maybe specializes in having a lot of attack speed, as opposed to just a singular great weapon. Zongors are maybe more like Gores, but they have, like, magical or ranged options and stuff like that. It's just They have such a narrow roster. It's just to grab it and go, to make it a little better. Darius Fair, thanks again for the tip. Let me put it like this. I have a custom faction. I have Azrae, Sylvaneth, and Beastman in it. If I write a background about an archer and I say she's trans, can you tell me that's lore accurate? Okay, Darius Fair, here's the thing. The one core principle that I think is a good thing about Age of Sigmar is that it was very, very carefully designed to say that anything's possible. Everything's canon. Literally. If you want something to be canon in Age of Sigmar, fuck it, it's canon. Not in like a flippant, like, oh, nothing matters sense, but that there is a place in the realms where that has happened. Could you have a faction where the forces of death from Nagash, the Ossiarch Bone Reapers have flooded into this strange realm that's part of the realms, a continent that's a little further away towards the realm's edge. And because of like this horrible invasion of death, the few living things being like the Wanderers or the Azrae, the Sylvaneth and the Beastmen have been kind of forced to work together because it's either that or pure death. And you know, put in an original character who has all that stuff. Yeah, that's totally plausible in AOS. Because in AOS, literally anything can happen. Now, it's not going to be maybe super fitting in like the core shenanigans going on, but that could totally exist along the outer limits. You're welcome, Darius. Thanks again for the tip. How many True Gores have been around in fantasy? They're pretty rare, but they're not like so rare that you never see them. There's probably been like thousands, or like hundreds of thousands. They show up. What is Morathi's deal in the story? I will be doing videos to get y'all caught up on AOS lore. But I'm not going to get into it right now. The TLDR is that Morathi made a big gamble to become a god, and she succeeded. So Morathi is now Morathi Cain. So she has absorbed all of Cain's divine essence and then added a couple of salt and pepper to it. And she has become a god. And Pirate Jack asked, who's the sweetest Babarelia in Warhammer? I don't even know what that is. What is that? I need a definition. Living legend? Yep. Trevor, thanks so much for the tip. No message, but appreciate it. Thank you. Give me Pestigores. I love Pestigores, dude. I love Pestigores in Blood Bowl, and I need them in fantasy. Cain? Yep. Oh, I will say, though, as Morathi turned into a god, she got cut in half by an Aryan spirit. So now she has two bodies. Her big monstrous form and her little sexy form. It's not like a pocket Morathi. It's... I nearly said something that would have been really bad. It is a normal-sized elf Morathi who looks normal and is like the sexy diplomat version that's a powerful wizard. And then there's the giant, scary snake monster version, which is a giant flying monster. And now they both exist simultaneously because they got split, even though they share one soul. I nearly called the Morathi small version a pocket something, and I'm glad I didn't slip that out. Snack. I like that snack size. That's funny. What is all with all the people in chat that are fucking scalies saying the snake Morathi is sexier? How dare you? There's only one snake in this house, and that's Sotek. All other snakes are inferior. You not. Listen, it's not a secret that I am not what's the phrase, what's the word for it that they use? I am not say so. Is that what it is? Pretty sure that's what it is. I am not that. Why did he cut her in half? Are they meant to be lovers? Because Morathi literally devoured all of the other Phoenix Kings, and she was about to devour Anarian. I don't think Anarian realized it was her. He just saw that all the Phoenix Kings' souls literally got devoured, and he was like, yeah, that's not happening. Is there a real difference between a god and a very strong mortal? Yes. In Warhammer Fantasy, yes. There's a massive difference between a god and a very strong model. Sam, the end times are... The end times have a lot of problems. The way they handled a lot of the gods had a lot of problems. But when it comes to Ulrich in particular... The big thing you have to remember about Ulrich is that by the time Ulrich's soul gets to combat Archaon at the end of Book 5, It was literally just a tiny little fragment of Ulrich. 90 to 99% of Ulrich's power had been absorbed by Teclis into his staff, and Teclis used Ulrich's essence to resurrect Tyrion as the incarnate of light. There was a little of him. There was just a little smidge that managed to escape the siege, the fall of Middenheim, and that little bit is what ended up fighting against Archaon. Hopefully that makes sense. Do I think we could ever see any pygmy, gnome, halfling, fisherman, Amazon units, and other faction/races? Christian CC, I wouldn't be surprised if they introduced like a mercenary system, where you are able to like recruit a regiment of renown of non-playable races like Amazons or halflings or gnomes that might be like, it might be bound to a single faction, like, but I'm not exactly sure how they would do it, but I could see it happening. You will never see pygmies, though. You will never see pygmies. Who has fantasy weapons that could give demons a true death? True death can be inflicted by the Sword of Cain, aka the Widowmaker, the Blade of Realities, which the Lizardmen have, the Destroyer of Eternities, which the Tomb Kings have. Those are kind of the only big three. One of the Axes of Grimnir might be able to, but probably not. Those three are really the only big ones. Can a demon switch factions? No. Demons are not true individuals. They are merely fragments of their gods. They are not able to do anything that their god would not have an interest in them in doing. Sotek's more like a flat frog. Fuck you. You're not wrong, but sit on a dick, dude, and spin. You dick. It's okay, I know you said that lovingly. Not Galmaraz? No. Galmaraz has never demonstrated the ability to give demons a true death. It's good at whacking demons and destroying their physical bodies, but it's never perma-killed one. Any news on Sigmarats? I have never heard of that. I've never heard of a good Skaven. Much less one that worships anything but the Great Horned Rat. Nicholas Wright, thanks so much for the tip, my dude. Galmaraz in Warhammer, in Age of Sigmar, can probably true kill demons, though it hasn't yet. But in Fantasy, it definitely cannot. Who's the most interesting god? That depends on how you define interesting. In Fantasy, I think Sotek is the most interesting god because there's a lot of mystery to it. But Sigmar is also pretty interesting because it's the same mystery, essentially. In AOS, I think the most interesting god in AOS is Nagash, personally. He's got a lot of really crazy shit going on. Does Be'lakor actually have a side? Be'lakor is on his own side. Because he's too much of a douche for anybody else to be on his side. Halogam, do your homework or I'll ban you. What happened to Nyastra and Arahan in the end times? They showed up briefly in the battles for Athel Loren, and presumably they died there. Master of Warhammer, I am doing well, personally. A lot of people in my area are struggling, but we've only lost power once, and it was only for like an hour or two, so we are doing well. But, yeah. My heart hurts for many of my neighbors. Is Morgur in AOS? Yes, he's not playable, but he is a god. Just like he was a god in Fantasy as well, technically, but he is not physically manifested in AOS, but he is around. Do Dawi have polyandry? Is that multiple wives per husband, right? They do not. Oh, who's the most interesting god among the Chaos gods? I think Nurgle's the best. Slaanesh is super interesting, though. Slaanesh is a fascinating god. Because he's kind of self-defeating and he's aware of it. So he has very interesting shenanigans going on with him. Because Slaanesh is the one Chaos God who, above all else, does not actually want to destroy the world. Like, he wants to pervert it and sculpt it, but he is actually very, very opposed to destruction for the sake of destruction. Is Sigmar depressed in AOS? Sometimes. Polyamory is just several people. You're thinking of a harem. That's not... Dwarves don't do that. Dwarves have single partners. Is the reason you're doing well because you're streaming in Cancun? I would like to take a moment here to say fuck Ted Cruz, by the way. I've always hated him, but like, just a big, special additional fuck you to Ted Cruz today. Cowardly rat. Anyway. Do I think Cain will ever return, or has he been completely supplanted by Morothy? He's been completely devoured by Morothy. Completely. 100%. And thank you, Jack. I'm doing well. What did he do? He ran away to Cancun while all of his constituents are suffering horribly. Meanwhile, his opponent from 2 years ago-ish is actually out there doing stuff and, like, trying to help people. Calm down, chat. Oh, yeah, and then he blamed his daughters for it. Yeah, I know, he's an absolute coward. He's like the textbook definition of a yellow-bellied... I'm going to stop before I start using words I can't use on stream. But yeah, he's just the worst. Nicholas, thanks again for the tip, my dude. How did the cult of Sotek come to be? Oh, gosh, dude. That's kind of a long story. I'm happy to tell it, though. Just let me refresh my throat here. The Big Red Bear. AOS was the chance to give Beastman more of a fleshed out idea in society. It feels... Yeah, Big Red Bear, the first edition, or second edition technically, but the first Beast of Chaos book was definitely, I feel like, just kind of a placeholder book. To be like, okay, here's your damn book. I'm really hoping they're going to get some good love in third edition. Alright. In answer to your question, Nicholas, so the way the Cult of Sotek came about, super fascinating. Basically what happened was that there was a prophecy that the Lizardmen have had for thousands of years. So when the old ones died, or fled, or whatever happened to them, presumably died, the old ones were very gifted at pretty much everything, and they were very, very good at prophecy. So when they saw their death coming, they were like, oh shit, and they basically used their last few years, decades, however long it was, to write down everything that was going to happen that the Lizardmen needed to know about on these golden plaques. And so they, like, wrote everything down. And they then gave all the plaques to the Lizardmen, but right after finishing them, like, immediately as they were finishing them, everything blows up, chaos invades the world, shit goes down, a lot of the sacred plaques are destroyed or lost, a lot of the temple cities are destroyed or lost. Hey, Darius, have a good night, dude. Y'all enjoy the movie. And so all this crazy shit happens, and a lot of them get scattered. So all the temple cities, ever since that time, have been trying to find all the sacred plaques and then talking to one another to create like a complete timeline to figure everything out. And one of the temple cities, the city of Chakwa, which is the city of gold, actually had a unique plaque, which no other city had, which in and of itself isn't super unusual. Sometimes individual cities will be the only one that has a plaque pertaining to a certain event. That's not terribly unusual. But what was unusual about this one was it talked about a god called Sotek. And when the Slan of Chakwa were like ruminating over this plaque and reading it, they were like, this is weird, because they've never heard of a guy named Sotek, and the plaque is basically referring to him as like an actual god. And they're reading this plaque, and it's talking about like the rise of a race of vermin and a horned god, and like the lizardmen dying. It talks about the destruction of Chakwa, and the Slan are kind of like, okay, this might be heretical. Like, there's a good chance that if the other Slan know about this plaque, they're going to want to see it and either take it from us, or they might say that it's not in alignment with the Great Plan and it's going to cause a lot of problems. So they hid it away. Because they didn't want to even dwell on it, because the Slan can read each other's thoughts. So if they dwelled too much on it, the other Slan would become aware of it. And they didn't want to risk it. So they were like, we'll deal with it later, put it away. Well, Slan being Slan, when they say they'll deal with it later, usually they mean like we'll deal with it in a couple thousand years. Because to them, time moves a lot faster. Because they will ruminate for hundreds of years at a time, because they're immortal, whatever. It's not a big deal. So, lo and behold, the plaque starts coming true. And the Skaven start showing up in Lestria, but the Skaven are really stealthy about it. The Skaven are very, very careful. And these are the progenitors of Clan Pestilence. So the way they adapt to the jungles of Lestria, which are very harsh and have all sorts of deadly fauna and flora, and there's all sorts of poisonous crap, and it's just awful, is that they develop into Clan Pestilence. And the prophecy starts coming true, where the Slans start saying all the skinks are getting sick. They're seeing, like, the skinks are getting these horrible diseases. They're getting reports of these strange rat creatures attacking and lurking around the forest. And finally, they're like, okay, we need to figure out what the hell's going on here. Capture these things and bring them to us so we can examine them and maybe create a cure to this disease. So the skinks go out and they capture a bunch of Clan Pestilence Skaven and bring them back to the city. And the Slan are like, okay, we see what these things are. These are really weird. Let's see if we can reverse engineer a cure. But the Slan fucked up, because the Skaven were so diseased that they were basically like dirty bombs. They were living weapons, where they brought a new disease called the yellow fever into the actual temple city. So the Slan get sick with this deadly disease, and they realize, oh shit, we're dying. And as the Slan are dying to this disease, they're basically doing everything in their power to warn their fellow Slan about what's coming. And they're like, hey, fucking Skaven. And they're trying to explain this prophecy to the other Slan, but they're so diseased that they have like these horrible fevers, and their minds just aren't, they're like really fuzzy, and they're just not able to communicate well. And as they're dying, they look up into the skies, and they see a twin-tailed comet. Like, barely. Just very, very barely, really high off in the heavens, they see this twin-tailed comet, which to them looks like a forked tongue, like of a serpent. And they're like, oh my god, it's the prophecy. But they didn't have time to explain it to anybody. So they die. And, How did this Clan Pestilence even maintain their numbers when all the breeders have died in infancy? Nah, dude. Great Horned Rat blessed them with all that sickness. That he gave them that good shit to just make them horrible diseased creatures that were not only able to survive disease, but it made them stronger. So the sicker they got, the more resilient they got to everything. The more survivable and powerful they became. So their breeders became disgusting sick things. Any event, so the Slan die, but after they die, there's one skink who was very different from all of his fellows. There was a skink who very unusually came out of a spawning pool by himself, named Tehenowin. Tehenowin was very strange looking for a skink. He had a very big horn and this huge red crest, and after he spawned, a ton of red-crested skinks started spawning. And at the time, the Slan were like, well, that's kind of weird. But, whatever. It's the spawning pools. It's the old ones. We'll figure it out. And they were in the midst of dealing with the Skaven crisis. Well, Tehenowin, turns out, was spawned with knowledge about this sacred plaque. And so, Tehenowin goes down into the depths of the now ruined, diseased city of Chakwa because the red-crested skinks are immune to the disease. They don't get sick. They're the only ones not getting sick. The Saurus are all getting sick and dying. The regular skinks are getting sick and dying. Croxagors are getting sick and dying. Everybody's dying, but not the red-crested skinks. So Teheniwan goes down to the depths, and he just innately knows where this hidden plaque is. And he grabs it and pulls it out, and he marches out into the city like fucking Moses coming down from the mountain. And he's holding this plaque, and he's like, this is the truth. Like, this is our prophecy. We exist to fulfill this purpose. This is the prophecy of Chakwa. This is the prophecy of Sotek, which is that, look, there you can see the twin-tailed comet. You can see the forked tongue of Sotek in the sky. This is our moment. This is him telling us that he exists, but he's weak. He's in infancy. You know, he's in his egg. We need to bring him to reality. And the way we do that is by murdering the shit out of all these rats. Like, we're gonna spill so much blood of all these vermin that we're going to drown the continent, and from it our god's gonna rise up and devour their god. So, and apparently, like, Teheniwan, despite the fact that lizardmen are supposedly supposed to be kind of automatons, Teheniwan is not an automaton. He's very emotional. He's very vibrant. He gives these stirring, fiery oratories. He's like one of those hardcore Southern Baptist preachers that's like, be healed, and like flings their hand at the audience, and like all the front rows of people fall down. Like, that's basically Teheniwan, except for he has actual powers and he's not just a charlatan weirdo. So Teheniwan leads an exodus of all the survivors of the city of Chakwa, and all the skinks are like immediately on board because they're like, this guy actually cares about us. Whereas the Slann are like just sitting there contemplating. The Slann are like trying to think their way out of this horrible disease. And Teheniwan starts going around to all the cities and giving speeches. He's giving all these oratories about the prophecy of Sotek and how Sotek will deliver them. He will save them from this crisis, and how, you know, they have to take control of their destiny and act now. We can't wait for the Slann. And the Slann are looking at Teheniwan like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, they're basically, like, the Slann do not like Teheniwan at this point, because to them, he's basically a heretic. He's an upstart. But the problem is, Teheniwan is so popular among the lizardmen, like, not just the skinks, but the Saurus, because he's leading them into battle. And Teheniwan knows things that are, like, crazy. Like, he knows the Skaven are here. Like, the Skaven are going to show up here. So his army would surround, and the Skaven would be like, oh, fuck, getting ambushed by this giant horde of lizardmen. So this war rages on for 100 years. And over the course of 100 years, Teheniwan butchers millions of Skaven. And he starts winning over all the lizardmen. He wins over Krokkar. Krokkar, like, basically becomes his personal executioner. He wins over a lot of these ancient lizardman characters and all these things. And the Slann are starting to be like, okay, this is getting a little wild. But as he's feeding more and more and more Skaven in these sacrifices to Sotek, because Teheniwan's like, hey, we have to ritually sacrifice to Sotek, it's important. And the Slann go, no, you can't do that here. You cannot bring disease into our cities. We already did that once, it was stupid. We're not doing that again. Teheniwan's like, okay, fuck you, fine. I'm going to go out to these... Yeah, Nakai teamed up with them. And so he's like, okay, fine, I'm going to go out to these secret forgotten temples that nobody knows where they are, but I know where they are because Sotek tells me where they are, and I'm going to sacrifice. And he's sacrificing so many Skaven that, like, the river Amazon, which is the Amazon River from our world, which I don't know if you've ever seen the Amazon, it's fucking huge. And Teheniwan is sacrificing so many Skaven that the Amazon River completely fills and runs red with blood. Because he's just, like, butchering millions of rats. And he just keeps winning battle after battle after battle. After Clan Pestilence was on the ascendant, now all of a sudden they're getting pushed back. And his red-crested skinks are mostly immune to this disease, and Nurglitch, who was the first leader of Clan Pestilence, is just like, oh, fuck, because things are going really bad for him. And Tehennamut just keeps getting ahead of them. He keeps figuring out where they're hiding. He keeps ambushing them. Are there any non-army books about this war? There is one book that's super detailed about this war, which is this book. The Lustria campaign expansion from like 2006. Maybe. What year was this published? 2004. This is the Lustria book. So this has all the Lustria lore. Most of it. And anyway, so you have this big 100-year war, and at the end of it, the Cult of Sotek wins. They do all these massive sacrifices, and supposedly, according to them, the god Sotek is literally birthed out of a volcano, and comes bursting out and chases after the Skaven as they flee the continent. And Tehennamut from that point forward basically becomes an immortal avenger who just chases around the Skaven and murders them constantly. Silvery, not that I'm aware of. I know a lot of things have been slowed down because of COVID, and I suspect the Gotrek and Felix audiobooks are unfortunately behind schedule due to COVID issues. When killing all those Skaven to the end of killing a whole bunch of them being Khorne's interest, I mean, Khorne, if you're killing anything, like if you are shedding blood, Khorne's getting something out of it. End of the period, end of the day. And that's why he is usually the strongest of the gods. The strongest of the dark gods. When generally the strongest of the gods in general. Khorne's power sometimes gets overcome by the others, because there's like other stuff going on. But if there are large wars or violence going on, then he's top dog, because he feeds off violence. It's just the nature of Khorne. That's why he's such a pain in the butt. What's my predictions for the last Warhammer 2 Lord Pack? I think it's going to be Tarx the Brass Bull versus... It's either going to be Oxiodal from the Lizardmen or Rakarth the Beast Lord from the Dark Elves, I think. It's going to be one of those two. If Felix came back, would I want him to be a mortal or a Stormcast Eternal? He better be fucking mortal. I don't want him to be a Stormcast. I don't like Stormcast that much. The Horned Rat wins in the end. Well, Sotek did devour the Horned Rat for a while. He did get eaten. But apparently he managed to escape somehow. Or got digested in Sotek and he ran away after he got crapped out. Who knows? The Horned Rat is genuinely terrified of Sotek. Like, AOS actually talks about it in some really funny books. Where the Horned Rat is, like, terrified of Sotek. He does not like Sotek at all. Any canonical appearance of Lizardmen in the old world? They've turned up a few times. Tehennamut teleported into the old world to destroy the Skaven city of Festerspike. Which is in the Vaults? The Grey Mountains? One of those? Between the Empire and Bretonnia? Somewhere in that ballpark. I think it's in the Vaults. Which is between, like, Bretonnia and Tilia. And then, there was a Lizardman city... There was a Lizardman army that, due to a storm of magic, got accidentally summoned by an Imperial wizard outside... I forget what city they showed up outside of. I think it was Nuln. And, like, the Lizardmen just kind of started attacking the city because they didn't understand what was going on. So the Lizardmen just start attacking, and then the magic starts to kind of run out, so the Lizardman army just, like, vanishes back to where they came from. And the Empire was like, what the fuck? But yeah, the Lizardmen show up in the old world all the time. They also won... During the Albion Crisis, the Lizardmen were the final winners. The Lizardmen took over most of Albion and restored the Sacred Mists, and they established the new temple city of Conquata. How old is Oxiodal? Oxiodal is old as shit. Oxiodal was alive during the initial Chaos Incursion. So he's been around for many, many thousands of years. What did any of the gods think of Gork and Mork? All of the gods that ever bother thinking of Gork and Mork basically just think they're belligerent idiots. Like, they're too stupid to actually do anything, and they don't consider them a threat because of that, which is wrong. You should absolutely consider them a massive threat because they're so chaotic and destructive that you can't really predict what they're going to do, and they just kind of show up and start punching shit, which can be a problem. Yeah, dude, Master of Warhammer, I would literally sell my testicles to have Tehennowin brought back in AOS and get, like, a book and, like, a new Prophet of Sotek, and, like, it comes with, like, a fresh line for Seraphon. But, like, that be the main driving story event is, like, Sotek's reemergence and Tehennowin comes back. I would be okay, just, like, okay, I don't need progeny, I'm good. That is my progeny. Games Workshop, please don't take me up on that. Please. What's the likelihood that Oxiodal is just squatting in the realm of chaos? Well, I mean, he stays on the move. But he wandered across the old world, or the actual physical world for a good while. Could Gork and Mork be considered the strongest gods? No. They are powerful, but they kind of cancel each other out because they're always fighting. What units loosely based in the lore do the dwarfs need? In Total War, they need the Shard Dragon, Thunder Barges, which are giant flying Zeppelin war machine things, Rune Golems, Doom Seekers, which are slayers with giant bladed whip chains that are designed to take out like lots of infantry, Engineer Guild Masters, which could be Lord level engineer characters, Priestesses of Valea to give us a female dwarf character unit thing, Dragon Slayers, which are hero tier slayers, Demon Slayers, which are Lord tier slayers. That's a pretty good. Goblin Hewer, which is a axe throwing war machine that's like super rapid fire and is really, really heavy AP. High armor piercing, generally designed for anti-infantry. That's 9. That's pretty good, right? The Shard Dragon is not a real dragon. It's more like a worm. Like WYRM. It is a flightless dragon. Oh yeah, and then you got like steam drill miners with steam drills, Iron Drakes, but they have Drake fire pistols for like rapid fire, and like maybe slightly better in combat because of that, or more mobile. I don't know how they'd work, or firewall moving. Yeah, you could do Brewmasters. Brewmasters could be cool. Not Tehennowin. Master of Warhammer. You fucked up. You done fucked up, son. Get banned! No, you're fine, dude. That's fine. I love Tehennowin, but like if they wanted to bring in someone new, I wouldn't care. Grudge Rakers, yep, you could have Grudge Raker infantry. Technically, Grudge Rakers are not manufactured, though. Like, I hate to be that guy, but there's only one Grudge Raker. Because it's not a style of weapon, it's the name of the weapon. It's used by Grim Berlikson. But in Vermintide, they actually made it into a weapon. They made it into a shotgun, which is weird because it doesn't work like a shotgun. Like, in Tabletop, it's a long-range rifle that's double-barreled. It has 2 barrels vertically, so you could shoot it multiple times. But it's like a hardcore sniper rifle, almost. And then in Vermintide, they were like, let's make it a double-barreled shotgun. That makes sense. Except for it's vertical, so you go boom, boom. Which is fun, but, you know. Is K an aspect of Khorne? No. Though that is a very popular theory. And it's a heavily debated theory even in universe, which is pretty fun. Tehennowin as a Stormcast? How fucking dare you? I don't think a Ranger hero would work. Give me Joseph Bugman as a legendary hero, and that's your Ranger character. I don't think there should be a generic Ranger character. That's silly. In my opinion. I should try out Valheim. I keep hearing that. I have a lot of friends that want me to play it. But, you know, I've been in hell for the last week. No, the Carnosaur looks great. You're wrong. Shut up, Big Red Bear. Your opinion sucks. Shut up. Oh, chat. Chat. I want to show you something. I gotta show you something. Henry Cavill? Henry Cavill's in chat. Thanks for the $2, Henry Cavill. I'm sure that's totally you. Thanks so much. Glad you're a fan. I love your shit. Watch that actually be Henry Cavill. It'd be fucking hilarious. It's not a cat face. Shut up, nerd. Okay, chat. So, he's been fixed! For those unaware, this model broke. So this is like my baby, right? This is my, Carnosaur Lord for AOS. And, I don't know if I can get the camera to focus on it very well. Come on. This camera is like sucks for this. I have a much better camera. But he was super broken. And I actually got him fixed. So one of these back spikes was gone. Like I totally lost it. So it's fixed, and he did a fucking great job. You can't even tell. Got the finger fixed. So this is the Krokgar version. So it's hard to see, unfortunately, because the camera's being a shit. But if you've never seen this model, I do have more detailed pictures other places on the channel. But his tail was broken, so the tail's fixed, which is great. And here's a cool trick. Here's a cool trick. You pull off the spear arm, and you pull off the Hand of the Gods, the laser arm. Pull them off. And you put on the sword arm. And the shield arm. Ooh. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Now he's a Scar veteran. Isn't that a cool magic trick? Magnets. How do they work? Square base, that's heresy for AOS. Well, I have a conversion base. So, it's not actually here right now, but I have a circle base that has a square cutout that you just slot him into it, and it makes him on an AOS base. But I had him built back when I played Fantasy. You want to see that sweet baby on the field of battle? Me too. Though I have mixed feelings about Seraphon right now in AOS. They're a little too strong, and I don't like playing armies that are like really, really beefy. Who is my favorite model? My favorite model in AOS? My favorite model in AOS right now is probably Lady Ollander. Dude, William! Whoa! Dude, William Buckingham. Thanks for that huge tip, dude. Damn! No message. Thank you. I don't... Thanks, man. I don't know what to say. There's no message with it. Hopefully you didn't forget to, like, write something. That was actually Henry Cavill? I don't believe you. All I can say about seeing that model is meow. Big Red Bear, I will throw you into the fucking snake pit, dude. You shut your whore mouth about my Carnosaur. I don't want to hear shit from you. Cat face. I don't know how you could think that's a cat face. When's the last time you saw a fucking cat, dude? Can I post pictures of some Chaos Warriors and Chaos Knight my friend just painted? Yeah, you know what we should start doing? I'm going to totally steal this from Valrak. Chapter Master Valrak. Great channel. If you haven't subscribed to Chapter Master Valrak, you should. It's not at all fantasy related. I just like his stuff. Anyway, we're going to steal something from him. So not this stream, but I'd like to do more of these just like casual chat streams in the future where we just kind of hang out. And we should start doing a share time. So, like, if y'all are painting tabletop models, we have a time at the end of the stream or during the stream where we just pull up it on screen and I can show off all the models everyone's been working on and I can give my thoughts on it. Wouldn't that be fun? What, just because he has large canine fangs? I don't know, dude. I understand what you're saying, but I think you're wrong. I disagree. I really like the Carnosaurs. I think they look great. So we'll do that starting next stream. We'll like do model share time. But I swear to God, if you share something that's like not kosher, it's gonna end bad for you. don't put any like porn or shit on there. Half of us are here for Total War. I mean, that's fine. I also talk about Total War shit, but you can't paint models in Total War. What the fuck do you want me to do? Speaking of Seraphon, whenever Krokgar comes back, I don't think Krokgar's gonna come back. I think if they were gonna do that, they would have done it. As much as I would love for Krokgar to come back, I don't think it's gonna happen. I think they would have done it by now. Will I do a painting stream soon? Yes, when it's not cold as balls. Did all the Lizardman cities fly away at the end, or only one? No, a ton of Lizardman stuff flew away at the end. Dougal, all of the Seraphon that currently exist in AOS are just literally the Lizardmen. Like, all of the cities and buildings they haven't created any new buildings, as far as we know. That's literally all just their buildings from Fantasy. Ardono's alerts off. Yeah, the sound's off from last time, and I forgot to turn it back on. Halogun, thanks for the tip, my dude. Here's some love and a link to them. I think they came out so pretty. Oh, you didn't have to donate for that, dude. Thank you. Oh, those are nice and classic looking. Dude, Halogum, have you seen the new sculpts for these? Have you seen the Chaos Knight and Warrior sculpts for the AOS starter kit? They're fucking gorgeous, dude. They're so much better than the old sculpts. These are painted wonderfully though. They look excellent. Yeah, great job on that. Ooh, I really like the bases. That cracked texture looks very nice. Good job, dude. Oh god. The Warriors of Chaos picture, if you scroll up all the way, I think you got like metallic bits back there or something. It's very bright. Any chance of Amazons or people from Albion got a seat in some of them cities? I really doubt it. Hey, Buckingham, thanks. Just want to say, dude, thanks again for that a massive tip. I don't see any messages from you in chat. I mean, that was probably the most, like, hardcore drive-by donation I've ever seen in my life. Thank you. That was super generous. I appreciate it. What do I got in my hand there? I don't have anything in my hand. I was just clicking on my mouse. Will CA be likely not to add golems and guardians because they are dormant? Golems... There are no such thing as runic guardians. There are runic golems and that's it. There's one type. Period. There's not like multiple types. That being said, there's not enough magic for them to operate in the normal Warhammer Fantasy universe, but in Total War, a lot of crazy shit's going on right now, like demons being able to manifest wherever they want. And with demons manifesting wherever they want, that means there's enough magic for demons to manifest. And if there's enough magic for demons to manifest, there is enough magic for rune golems to be operating. William! Jesus, dude! Fuck, man, thanks! My sincerest apologies, kind words. My last missive was supposed to say, "You look nice today." Oh, thanks. Thanks. Thanks for the $50, man. Damn. I appreciate the support. That's very nice of you. Your hair's looking well. This is what it does. Like, I will say, I am very fond of my hair. I have very nice hair, especially when it grows out. It looks very nice with zero effort. I wish my beard was like that. My beard fucking sucks. I hate it. William, thank you. Super fucking nice of you, dude. That's like literally just like pays for the pipe downstairs. I gotta fucking fix. Dude, plumbers, contract, like just contract workers for like housing and stuff, roofs, houses, cars, plumbing, all that shit. They're gonna make bank after all this winter shit moves out. Like, there's so many people have broken shit that has to be repaired and like renovated. They're gonna make a fucking killing, dude. So much money. How would I feel about playing Honey Pop 2? No. No, not here. No, thank you. I don't even know if that's a game I would play on my personal time. Listen, if I'm gonna be doing fucking something for, like, enjoyment, why would I want to, like, make the effort of it being a game? God, come on. Not on stream. Never on stream. Ever. How much would I play for the Total War version to be canon and Games Workshop lore? I don't think I would. I think I like them being different, separate things. DMI. I didn't say shit! If you insinuate something from that, it's your own goddamn business. Listen, I am a very strong I'm a very strong advocate of the idea that no conversation or topic should be taboo, because it's just silly. Like, the way we learn is by communicating. Granted, not everything necessarily should be just, like, flat out said on stream. If you ever meet me in person, I'm much more amicable talking about whatever. But I will talk about horny stuff on stream. Around here. Like, just it's gonna happen. Just accept it. Just, you know, bite your pillow and be ready for it, because it's gonna happen. That kind of shit comes out on stream. It's just, you know, it's just part of life. Don't make it weird. Don't make it weird, chat. You'll ruin the vibe. What fantasy book do I recommend and why? If you're new to Warhammer Fantasy, you should start with Gotrek and Felix, because it's really designed as a intro guide to Warhammer, because it has a very grounded human perspective to explore the world, and it takes you a lot of different places. And you get to see all sorts of... It's kind of like a Monster of the Week series almost, but like instead of it being like a single week, it's like an entire novel based on a certain race or monster. So you get to be introduced to a lot of different nations, a lot of different places, a lot of different characters, and you get to see how a lot of the world works, but for from like a human perspective, which is what makes it a very strong series. It's also just written very well. What's the rarest metal in Warhammer? The rarest metal in Warhammer Fantasy, I would probably say is... probably say Gromril. Probably Gromril. Which is kind of wild, because it's essentially a star metal. Like, Gromril is not a naturally occurring metal on the Warhammer Fantasy planet. It's from, like, meteors. Would I be alright with CA inventing an entirely new faction? Yes, fish people, fucking do it. As long as there's some kind of basis for it, even if it's just like a sentence, but like do fucking fish, CA, do it. Give me the fish people. Do fish people. I want Cthulhu shit. I want the Kraken playable. Fucking do it. Thanks, Pyromecho. I appreciate it. Chris, I've already read some of those. Any others? I would recommend finishing Go Trek and Felix if you are like it. Other good series, the Blackhearts Omnibus, super duper good. If you're looking for a particular race, I can point you in a direction of like a particular faction. Isn't the Kraken a Chaos Dwarf boat or something? No, there is a dwarf that has been corrupted by chaos who has a demon engine in the shape of a squid. but it is not the actual Kraken creatures of Warhammer Fantasy. It just is in the shape of a Kraken. Master of Warhammer, they've already put stuff from AOS in the end times in Total War Warhammer 2, so that statement is just a lie. I understand why they said it. Like, the reason Games Workshop said, Creative Assembly said, hey, there's not going to be any AOS or end time stuff, I think that was a incorrect statement. I think what they meant to say is that the setting of the end times and the setting of AOS will not be used in Total War Warhammer's trilogy. Because there are units and designs they are using from the end times and AOS, and they've already done that, and I think will continue to do that. And I want them to. Like, I want Storm Fiends from the end times for the Skaven. I want Thanquil's end times model and the end times Vermin Lords. And from AOS, we've literally already gotten AOS stuff in Total War Warhammer 2. The Black Kraken for Dreadfleet? Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier. Yeah, Brunner the Bounty Hunter. Brunner the Bounty Hunter is an excellent omnibus. If you can get your hands on Brunner the Bounty Hunter and read it, it's a lot of fun. Very, very good. And if you're someone that's really big into the Southern Realms, like Tilia and Nostalgia, Brunner the Bounty Hunter is probably the best place for their lore. It's very, very interesting. Like, it goes into their unique religions and, like, the geography and some of the issues they deal with. It's very well written. It's a ton of fun. There's a cobra to my right. Him? Yeah, there's a lot of snakes around, but it's okay. I am the lore master of Sotek. They won't bite me so long as I pay my taxes. Screech Vermin King, Legendary Hero, Game 3. Yeah, I could see it. What did we get from Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 2? Armored Squigs. So in Warhammer 2, as part of the WoW mechanic for the Greenskins, you can get Armored Squig Riders, and those are a AOS unit. It's a shame they're not in multiplayer. They're only single player, but I think they should just put them in multiplayer. They're a great unit. Will Dog of War units be different depending on their location, such as Amazons in the New World or Cathanian units in the Far East? They could do that. I have no fucking idea. Something like that could be cool. Books for vampires? Best books for vampires. You could pick up the Von Karstein trilogy, which is called Vampire Wars, which is about Vlad von Karstein and all his progeny. You can also read, I believe the Nagash trilogy focuses a fair bit on vampires, like Neferata and stuff. You can also pick up the books Neferata. There's just a book called Neferata, which is very good. Well, it's okay. The book itself is good. The lore it covers is not great, because a lot of it doesn't work. But it has a sequel called Master of the Dead, which is very good. I actually really liked Master of the Dead. And there's also... there's a Vampire Slayer, Go Trek and Felix Vampire Slayer, which is dedicated to vampires. And there's the Ulrika Omnibus. So Ulrika Magdova, who's a Kislevite that was turned into a vampire. She has her own trilogy, which is also very, very good. Any books for Beastmen? Not. They show up in a lot of books, and they're very well written in a lot of books, but they don't have like a dedicated book. The Knights of Bretonnia has a very good book about the Beastmen. Gotrek and Felix Shaman Slayer is excellent for Beastmen and showing why they're terrifying. Looking at some of these other ones. The Elves Omnibus has one of its books kind of dedicated to like Morgur, which is pretty good. I think that's all of them, really. They show up in a ton of books. Books for Ogres. For Ogres, there are a couple of Gotrek and Felix like side stories about them, which I think are being covered in the 5th and 6th Omnibus. Which the 6th Omnibus isn't out yet, but the 5th one is. They also show up in Bruno the Bounty Hunter. See, Ogres. They have a couple of books you could buy as ebooks. So, like The First Prophet, and there's also a book about Golgfag Maneater, which I think is just called Golgfag. So you can pick those up off the Black Library website. I don't think they have physical books, though. Who's my favorite vampire bloodline? My favorite bloodline is the Necrarchs. Necrarchs are my favorite because they create new forms of undead, which I think is just badass. If I could create my own character in Warhammer Fantasy, it would be difficult for me to not make it a Necromancer or Necrarch because of the whole create your own minions thing. CJ, you buzzed yes to I don't think I'll ever cover Malice on the channel. Malice is not relevant to anything that I do. He was already basically non-canon by the time I started playing Warhammer. Blood Dragons are boring. I'm sorry, I don't think they're that interesting. Like, they can be cool. I think the Red Duke is cool. I like the Red Duke. Wallach, he's alright. And I could not care less about Aberash. Aberash is like... he's so boring. Is there a Blood Knight vampire book? Yep, The Red Duke. The Red Duke, which is a phenomenal book. It's very sad, but it's very good. Oh yeah, Malal. I don't know why I said Malice. Yes, Malice. Yeah, we'll cover Malice at some point, but Malice is a bitch. Not only does he have like 6 books, but his lore is very out of date. Like, a lot of the shit that happens in his book does not make sense in modern Warhammer canon. So, like, I would have to read his books and translate it into modern fantasy lore, which is gonna suck. Just massive donkey balls. We'll do it at some point, but it's not gonna be fun, to be honest. What's my favorite war cry in Warhammer? Definitely Wah. I would shout it normally, but my voice hurts because I've been talking for 3 hours, and I haven't talked that much in a long time. Yeah, a good old fucking Wah is it's great. Blood for the Blood God and Skulls for the Skull Throne are cute. Like, they're good, but I think Wah is just a lot more... It's Do I think Jade-Blooded Vampires will appear for Cathay? As a minor faction that has no unique assets? Yes, absolutely. How do I feel about the lore behind Warhammer Online, that setting? I like Warhammer Online, but the fact that Tzeentch is the only chaos focus, instead of it being all the gods and like an Everchosen, but it's just Tzeentch with Chazarnik, it kind of sucks. I hate it. I do like Grumlock and Gazbag for the Greenskins. I thought they were cool. Yeah, Kazukan Kazukit Ha is an excellent saying. I do love that. Kazukan Kazukit Ha! That's also a pretty bitchin' saying. I wish the Lizardman had a good one. but I can't speak Saurian very well because I can't roll my R's, and I also can't make that snaky sound. Any particular ice spells I'm looking forward to for Kislev? I hope there's an ice wall, like be it creating unpassable terrain, unless you're flying. I think that would be super badass. Oh yeah, Ola Skink. Oh yeah, that's an absolute panty soaker, isn't it? Balk! Balk! Fucking lizardman, Jesus. Do the Skaven have a war cry? I mean, yes, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. Chili Quancani! Ola Skinks is more like, oh hey, I just showed up to the kids section of my favorite Mexican restaurant. Kind of say. You know what? My favorite Skaven saying, it's not really a saying, but my favorite Skaven voice line is actually from Warhammer Mark of Chaos. Whenever you click on the Jezzails, sometimes they go, one shot, one kill, and I fucking love that. It's a great saying. Yeah, Rickarak. Rickarak is a Skaven shout. Yeah. Rickarak. Hey, Strontium Dog. Thanks so much for the tip, my dude. I've read basically all the 8th edition army books. Do I reckon it's worth reading any of the older ones, or are they subjectively better? Strontium Dog, I would heavily recommend reading 7th edition. 6th edition, like, you want to read, like, the Bretonia book, obviously, because it's the latest Bretonia book that they made. But 7th edition books are... Oh, the lore, dude. 7th edition was the best edition for lore. It was... Oh, it was beautiful lore. Like, those books were thick with lore. It was insane how much effort they put into it. 8th edition was a step down, in my opinion, lore-wise. Any plans for a new Warhammer 2 DLC, or campaign before the DLC? Probably not. Probably just my campaign with Legend of Total War. Have I read the Ambassador Chronicles? Not yet. It is on my to-do list. Andrew Sejmas, thanks so much for the tip. Prediction for the core race part of the next DLC? What? Oh, what do you mean core race? Oh, you mean like from Warhammer 2? It's either going to be Dark Elves or Lizardmen. I'm thinking it's going to be Lizardmen because I don't think Dark Elves have enough missing units to make a good Lord pack. Lizardmen do. So I'm thinking it's going to be Lizardmen. And it's either going to be led by Oxiodal or... Oxiodal or... Fuck. What is his name? Don't tell me. It'll come to me. What the fuck is his name? Teto Echo. Took me a minute. Yeah, it'll either be Teto Echo or Oxiodal. It'll probably be Oxiodal because he's the most different. Because he'll give the Lizardman like a shooting character. Have I seen Lost Kingdom miniatures? Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Lost Kingdom miniatures, to be honest. Like, they're nice, but there's just something about their aesthetic I'm not super on board with. Also, their models I think are made out of resin, which... No, sir. Where is Queek? Somewhere. You know where Queek is? Queek is up your butt and around the corner. That's where he is. What book is Ungrim Iron Fist in? Ungrim shows up... Ungrim is a main character of Gotrek and Felix, The Road of Skulls. What's my opinion on people who use third-party miniatures? Go for it. As long as your models make you happy, I don't give a shit where you get them. I think buying from Games Workshop is stupid. I do it, don't get me wrong. Because I just want to support the company so they keep printing shit. But I think they charge way too much for their models, and you should always buy from a third-party retailer so you can get them cheaper or off eBay. I would never buy from Games Workshop direct unless you're just like desperate to have them, which I am, so I do that because I'm stupid. But for most people, I would never recommend buying directly from Games Workshop. They charge way too much money. They're greedy as fuck right now. It's shit. That being said, if you're wanting to participate in the tournament scene, you kind of gotta have like at least bits of professional, like you gotta figure out your tournament organizer's rules. Generally they'll let you in as long as everyone can like clearly tell what your models are, but like if Games Workshop is hosting the tournament, you have to use Games Workshop bits. So just be like careful about that. Have I read the Skaven AOS Battle Tome? Yes, I like it. I haven't read it in a while, but I have read it. The way Thanquil returns to the setting is fucking hilarious. What about Chakax? I think Chakax will be a legendary hero. I don't think he's going to be a... He would not make sense as a legendary. Dude's a bodyguard. Will there be a Total War Warhammer Complete Ultimate Edition? Probably. Maybe. That would probably be smart. I'll buy it. Because I'm an idiot. Because I'm an absolute slut for this trilogy, and I'm okay with that. I'll just rub it on my body. Worst value for money model in your opinion? Mega Gargants. The Sons of Behemoth have one of the best battle tomes, but their models are fucking ludicrously expensive. Like, just unfairly expensive for what you're getting. Like, they're beautiful models, but they're like $100 too much. Or at least $50 too much. I don't know, there's a lot of shit models in shouldn't Willing Buckingham, dude, again with the dude. I mean, you've already taken me out to a nice dinner. Just, you know, let me know the address. I'll be there. Thanks, man. Appreciate another tip. 25er. Would I be interested in covering the Cursed? Yes, I will be covering the shit out of the Cursed City. The Cursed City looks super duper fun. Also, just wanted to say I really appreciate how friendly and welcome you are as a content creator. Keep doing what you're doing. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. I know... I'm going to out myself here. I know a lot of people get really frustrated with how slow I am about putting out videos, especially like lore videos. Which unfortunately is just the name of the game around here. But I hope that at least what of me you get to deal with on like live streams and stuff is worth it to stick around the community and support and stuff. That seems to be the case. I try and live stream enough that y'all get to hang out with me and hopefully enjoy it. I don't fucking know. But, yeah, thanks. I'm trying to get more stuff out. I'm trying. Favorite pre-end times model? My favorite model before the end times. Probably this guy. Carnosaur. I think, yeah, I would probably say the Carnosaur is my favorite pre-end times model. Closely followed by the Troglodon. This guy. Troglodon, which is the alternate version of this kit, super bitchin' model. Its rules suck complete ass. It's never had good rules, ever. It's so sad how bad its rules are, but it's a beautiful model. If we do get Oxyoto for the Lord Pack, what else do I think the Lizardmen will get? They'll get the Troglodon as a monster. They'll probably get the Kodal as a monster, the winged feathered serpent creature that can probably have bounce spells. We'll probably get skink mounted horned ones, so like Tichi Huichi's Raiders. I'm hoping there'll be red crested skinks. That would be kind of cool to have like red crested skinks on horned ones that can like throw poison javelins. They probably should not have poison melee attacks. That might be a little much. So that's already 3. You could also do... Arcanodons. Oh, that would be really cool to see Arcanodons. I don't think that would happen because that'd be like 3 monsters in a pack, which never happens. But Arcanodons would be super fucking cool. Most people don't know about them. They were actually the Engine of the Gods when it was original. Oh wait, I can actually show you. I'm sitting here like talking about it, trying to describe it. I've got a fucking book. So this is the Arcanodon. Wacha! Oop, oop, oop. This big motherfucker right here. So it's like a long neck. It's almost like a long neck, not a Brachiosaurus, but like a long neck dinosaur. It's a little funky looking because it's a kit bash, but this was the original Engine of the Gods. It's a kit bash using the old school Carnosaur kit and some other stuff. But the old version was the Arcanodon was this big, stupid dinosaur. It literally had the stupidity rule, which was hilarious. And this engine right here would shoot out giant flaming catapult shots. So it would like shoot out these big balls of like solar or like sun energy that would fly and blow up. I don't know if it needs that part because it'd basically just be like the solar engine again. Because obviously the solar engine basically replaced this guy. But I would love to see him put in the game and like given a different role. Maybe give him like a new war engine that does something else. Oops. Oh, fuck it. Get back there. Dumb bitch. Come here. Okay. If it's Dark Elves, what could they add? I honestly have no idea. The only thing I can think of for Dark Elves off the top of my head would be like Manticore Riders. It's like a unit. I mean, you could do what CA has been doing to cheat, which is just make all of the unit champions for the various units into its own unit. They really like doing that. I think we'll finally be getting the new Beastman DLC? Yes, 100%. I think every legendary lord with a mount should have a named mount. I disagree. Not every legendary lord is that attached to their mount. I think that should be safe for people whose mounts form like a critical part of their design. Chris, what are you talking about, dude? Like, are you saying you sent a tip, or you just what are you doing, man? Bigger Bear, thanks for the tip, my dude. Gargants are some of the most overpriced things I've ever seen. 30% more expensive than the Knights, and the Knights are bigger and have more sprues. I used to shy away from third-party markets, however, GW's got some old models with battle skulls for too much. Yeah, Games Workshop is very predatory, to be frank. I would not blame anyone for not wanting to buy from them. Could they nip at the AOS Elves for their Dark Elf units? They better not. Those should stay away. I do not think the Dark Elves should... No, Dark Elves should absolutely not get a Chimera. Chimeras are Warriors of Chaos, not Dark Elves. And the Basilisk and the Cockatrice, I would rather see in the Beastman roster. I think the Beastmen should get all the crazy fun monsters. Because they're supposed to be a monster faction. I think the Dark Elves are fine. Honestly, I don't think they need another Lord pack. I know people want them to have a 6th Lord, which is fine. But I don't think they need, like, new units. I honestly think they're done. I thought Dark Elves were the Masters of Beasts. Not really. I mean, Rakarth has a thing for collecting monsters. But I don't think that would curtail as collecting new exotic species that then become available to the entire faction. I feel like it'd be more like he has a unique gimmick where he can get access to monsters that Dark Elves normally can't. Like generic monsters from other factions. Yeah, kind of like Drycha, but maybe like just monsters instead of just like a bunch of weird units. No, I read y'all's messages. I don't always respond to every message because sometimes y'all will say a message and I just don't have anything to say to it. But I do read them all. We better get the Gorgon, the Jabberslite, in the next DLC. Amen. Amen. Oh, I know the Dark Elves could totally have stuff like Basilisks and Cockatrices. I just think the Beastmen, they should belong to the Beastmen instead. I don't understand how a Spellthirster Hydra would work. Like, I don't see how you could make that remotely interesting. Like, would it just be a Hydra with magic attacks? And magic resistance? I just don't see that being interesting. Any chance of getting great Bray Shamans for Beastmen? If Beastmen are the upcoming DLC, which I suspect they are, I think it's very, very likely they will get great Bray Shamans as like a free LC. Spellthirster Hydras, City Guard, Fleet Master, Manticore Knights, obligatory unit promotion of Captain the Unit, solid lineup for pack nonetheless, though. I mean, they could make it work. Yeah, whatever. If you read this, then say my name. No. What campaign mechanics do I think CA will give Beastmen? Hopefully, Herdstones and the ability to, like, leave some kind of destruction behind in the cities they destroy so that they can't just be reclaimed as ruins, like, instantly. Stuff like that. Silly me. What about Chaos getting lava trolls? I don't think lava trolls are a thing. I cannot see that making any sense. The one universal weakness that trolls have is that it's fire. If you had lava trolls, that would completely negate that entire situation. From like a lore standpoint, that would be very weird. Is there a not known book I recommend, like a hidden gem inside Warhammer literature? I mean, there are books that not a lot of people know about that I highly recommend. The Doom of Dragonback, I think, is a very, very good book that a lot of people don't necessarily know about. I mean, a lot of Games Workshop has been very busy organizing a lot of their books into omnibuy so that they're very easy to mass purchase. I'd probably say the least popular books, like not very many people I know have read them, that are very, very good, are The Doom of Dragonback and The Red Duke. Lava trolls might be a thing. I mean, it's possible. They would just be they would be a little weird from a design standpoint. Are there any great Skaven clans not in the game so far aside from Clan Scrutin? No. Do I think we'll get a Warp Fire Dragon? Maybe. I don't know what race Warp Fire Dragons would be a part of. Warp Fire Dragons are very independent creatures. And they, like, hate everybody, but they hate the Skaven the most. They're like the ultimate enemy of the Skaven. Despite their name making you think, oh, like, they're friends with the Skaven. No, they're, like, dead opposite. They're, like, ultimate enemies. Alright, my dudes. My voice hurts. I've been talking for a long time, nonstop, pretty much. My voice is very sore. So I'm going to go. I really, really appreciate you all joining me today. This was a shitload of fun. I'm glad that we could just kind of hang out and talk and people don't get like super upset. So hopefully this was enjoyable. And just a nice chill time. It's good to be back. Hopefully we will be able to stream regularly again, at least here in the near future. Obviously, Texas, we're not out of the woods yet. We've still got at least 2 more days of this insanity outside. So hopefully nothing crazy happens until then. Thanks so very much to everybody who tipped today through some change in that tip jar. I really appreciate it. I'm going to put it towards that broken pipe downstairs. And big thank you to William Buckingham. Thanks again, dude. Fucking just making me feel like a top dollar boy. Appreciate it. Stay safe. Please stay safe, all you dudes. And stay out of trouble if you can. I know some people like to get into trouble, but, do your best. Yeah, stay warm. Stay safe. I'll see you guys soon. I'll probably stream tomorrow, but if not, I 1000% will be live streaming the AOS reveals Saturday morning. 100%. I will actually make sure that's set up before I go to bed tonight, so y'all can all see it. So that should be a ton of fun. Polex, wait, I miss you. Bye-bye. What happened to Morgar in the end times? Polex, here's how shitty the end times were. Morgar just didn't show up. He never appeared. He was never there. So, there you go. He was not a thing. Because Games Workshop did an absolute shit job at the end times, and that's why it's, like, there are okay moments, but for the most part, it's absolute trash. Anyway, see you guys later. Yep. Hold on. Actually, before I go, I wanted to check something real quick. Well, this is, like, super weird. Oh, God. Oh, here we go. Nah. Alright. See you guys.